Good evening and welcome to Freedom of Speech and You. I'm your host, Ken, and we are going to get started right away. So quick roll call. We have Mr. Webb. We have Human F Being. Human F Being says, where did Gates and Boebert go from here now that they've pissed off damn near all the Republicans in Congress? Interesting question. Let me star that. We'll probably get back to that. There is a show today, Blue Dem 1488. Nick Rich, hello. Nick Rich says, like number 10, I might miss a lot, but I boosted the algorithm with this. Rocket launch later. Yes, rocket launch actually tomorrow now because they've moved it back. Kinky Streets is here. He said, look what the fascists did in Brazil. I have that on my list of things to do tonight. So, yeah, we will get to that immediately. Good evening. Welcome, Aaron. Looks like we have a couple of new people here, or dare I say trolls, but we'll see. We'll see how they behave and whether they don't, and our moderators will take care of them if they don't. And that's the way things go around here. 14 people on YouTube tonight, so we'll see how people behave. Right off the bat, into things. And so, good evening, Embezzler. Okay. And we had Kinky say, look what the fascists did in Brazil. So, Kinky, you made me immediately change what I was going to talk about, because I was going to get into the topic that is the source of today's title of the show. But instead, I will go to this. So, hang on. Let me present this instead. So, this is coming to us via Philip Lewis with, hang on, I knew the source a moment ago. Huffington Post, yes, Philip Lewis with Huffington Post. So Philip Lewis says, supporters of former Brazilian president, I'm going to assume that's pronounced in a Spanish way, Jair Bolsonaro, if I'm butchering his name, so be it. Hey, Wes Webb, hurry back. Have stormed Congress in the capital of Brazil, climbing on top of its roof and breaking the glass in its windows. And so the video is there. Let me put myself here. It would help if I got on the right tab. There we go. So let me just stop this and full screen it. And this is going to look very familiar to January 6, 2021.
Muita gente lá fora, pessoal. A polícia não conseguiu conter o povo. Não conseguiu conter o povo. Quebraram as janelas, quebraram tudo, entraram dentro da casa, quebraram tudo.
Would help to turn my mic back on. So I have no idea what they're saying. Hopefully it's not something that is offensive, but there's the actual video of what's going on in Brazil, and, you know, looking very much like January 6th. And so that's what the news media is tweeting about on Twitter, is they're comparing what things were going on with him, his supporters protesting at the Capitol versus what happened with Trump. Yeah, I was muted for a moment. Sorry about that. So hi, Elizabeth. And so, there we have another instance of people storming a Capitol in order to get what they want. Give me a second here. The camera is kind of doing a little bit of aliasing. I don't know if I can make it any better. Nope, that makes me disappear. Nope, that makes me disappear. That's probably the best I can do. The key is always a little bit wonky. All the lights are on. So I don't know why the key is wonky unless it's because of where I have the camera. Maybe I should move the camera over and maybe that will get rid of the wonky key appearance. Yeah, that's a little better. There's a little bit of sparkle there, but that's a lot better if I don't move my head. If I move my head, then you see the key get destroyed. So it is what it is. Okay, so this show is titled "You're Once, Twice, 14 Times a Loser, and I Abhor You." And what I'm saying with that is that essentially for 14 rounds, they did not pick Kevin McCarthy to be the speaker. And for 14 rounds, we had somewhere between a few people and 20 people in Kevin McCarthy's party that didn't want him to be the speaker, or they wanted something in exchange for that. So let's see what NPR has to say in their article about the outcome of McCarthy finally being picked speaker after the 15th round. And that could be a little bit bigger, maybe. So it says Kevin McCarthy is elected House Speaker after 15 votes and days of negotiations, updated yesterday at 1:43 a.m. Eastern Time. So, article by Barbara Sprunt and Susan Davis on NPR. McCarthy is now officially Speaker of the House. He eked out a victory after 15 rounds of voting in a dramatic series of events on the House floor late Friday night. This meant that elected representatives finally were sworn in as members of the 118th Congress, and the House can finally get to work. He's been in tense negotiations for days with a small but critical group of far-right conservative lawmakers who made extended demands for concessions that would essentially make it easier to dispose or depose, it's hardly very different, depose the speaker and weaken the powers of the speaker's office to drive the legislative agenda and assign committee posts. After he failed to secure the speakership in the 14th round of voting late Friday night, the House quashed a motion to adjourn until Monday and instead opted to continue voting in the 15th and ultimately final round of balloting. He emerged victorious after Republicans Andy Biggs and Eli Crane of Arizona and Bob Good of Virginia voted present, which lowered the threshold of support the GOP leader needed to win. He's quoted as saying, "I never thought we'd get up here." Then he says, quote, "That was easy, huh?" He quipped this upon receiving the gavel at 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So technically, he didn't get the gavel until early Saturday morning. When he said the aforementioned quote, he laughed, probably out of nervousness. He gave a speech calling on the importance of checks and balances and holding government accountable. he said, quote, "It's time for us to be a check and provide some balance to the president's policies," end quote. Continuing, he said, quote, "We commit to stop wasteful Washington spending, to lower the price of groceries, gas, cars, housing, and stop the rising national debt," end quote. He's going to take credit for all that, but it's really Biden's policies that are doing those sort of things. McCarthy also joked to Hakeem Jeffries, who received unanimous support from Democrats, quote, "I've got to warn you, 2 years ago I got 100% of the vote from my conference," end quote. Yes, Kevin, but you didn't get it this time. He is persistent, Wes Webb. And no one will ever will. Corey, it doesn't matter, it's just they're going to choose one of their own, and he had the most votes, so he was likely to get it. McCarthy also commented to Jeffries that, quote, "Our debates will be passionate and they will never be personal," end quote. Get that in writing. Get that in writing. For his part, Minority Leader Jeffries delivered a passionate speech about the accomplishments of the Democratic Party under the Biden administration, including the American Rescue Plan and Inflation Reduction Act. Jeffries said, quote, "It was one of the most consequential Congresses in American history. President Biden gets the job done, and the D in Democrats stands for deliver," end quote. Good evening, Casper. Good evening, Crambaroni. Jeffries also acknowledged the, quote, "iconic, heroic, legendary speaker emerita," I think they mean emeritus, Nancy D. Alessandro Pelosi. Hope I didn't butcher her name. Okay, so maybe emerita. I'll have to look that up. Emerita. Is that the way to say emeritus with a different emphasis? A little vocabulary word for tonight. Emerita. Okay, yes, it does mean a woman who is a former holder of office. So he is correct and I'm incorrect. Quote, "Without question in my mind, Speaker Emerita Pelosi will go down in history as the greatest speaker of all time. Throughout her time in Congress, she's been a legendary legislator, a fabulous facilitator, and a no-nonsense negotiator," end quote. Progress for McCarthy was slow earlier in the week, but he gained momentum in a Friday afternoon vote when 14 of his 20 detractors flipped to vote for him after 4 days and 12 rounds of balloting. McCarthy projected confidence ahead of a planned 14th round of voting late Friday night, pledging to reporters, "We're going to get it done tonight." But then McCarthy failed once again to reach the threshold needed to assume the gavel. McCarthy needed a majority of all members voting to win, which can fluctuate depending on who shows up. Of 432 votes cast in the penultimate, I'm guessing that means 14. I was looking for that word earlier, but I don't think I would have been able to pronounce it. Penultimate round, McCarthy had 216. Republicans Lauren Boebert of Colorado and Matt Gaetz of Florida, two strong critics of McCarthy, voted present in the 14 vote, but it wasn't enough as 4 other Republicans voted for something else. McCarthy either needed another member to vote present or for someone to flip to an affirmative vote. And this is McCarthy confronting Matt Gaetz during the 14th vote, which everybody was talking about. So let's see that. I don't know that you can hear it because, let me see. Is the audio up? The audio is up, so there is no audio on this that you can hear. But I guess he was basically telling him off, saying, "You should have voted for me. You know, you didn't help me at all." Is what he's basically probably telling him. So, you know, it's just there's no audio with this, as other people have spoken about this. It's not supposed to be for us to actually hear what's going on. They're supposed to be able to have their off microphone discussions, and that's why we don't get to hear anything. And they're just basically, arguing about, you know, you should have enough votes or whatever. And he's saying, well, you should have voted for me. I would have run this round. You're making me look like a fool, essentially. So we could keep looking at that, but since there's nothing much to hear, he's just basically saying, I thought you were going to vote for me this time around. And then apparently it gets noisy and vocal, and something is said about something. Because you can hear the cacophony of others making noise, like there's a fight going on, and then the gavel of the secretary in charge basically saying, "Bring this to order." So he don't look too happy. Oh, to be a lip reader is right, human F being, to be a lip reader and to be able to tell what was really said. Maybe we'll get lucky. So here's what the article says. McCarthy walked to the back of the chamber and appeared to try to convince Gates and Boebert, who were seated next to each other, to change their minds. Other Republicans swarmed Gates and engaged in seemingly heated discussions after McCarthy walked away. So that would be the cacophony of noise that we heard. The concessions McCarthy offered during the course of negotiations, including making it easier to oust the speaker, an agreement to institute a 72-hour window for members to read bills before they get a vote, and a pledge to vote on legislation to institute term limits for members of Congress. This is a tweet by Deidre Walsh that says, at 11:02 p.m. on January 6, 2023, which theoretically would be Eastern time, probably is. Now McCarthy talking to Gates, trying to get him to change his vote. Chamber's pretty quiet. Someone on Democrat side says, quote, "On your knees," and Republicans yell order. Interesting. So there we have it, a eyewitness account of what was said. Pennsylvania Republican Scott Perry, a leading McCarthy critic, told reporters at the 12th ballot, in which he voted in favor of McCarthy for the first time, he told them the following quote, "I think I can speak for generally all of us. It is the framework of an agreement in good faith that allows us to keep moving forward," end quote. Representative Scott Perry, okay, he has a tweet here also. "We're at a turning point." This was at 1:05 p.m., however, on Jan 6. "We're at a turning point. I've negotiated in good faith with one purpose: to restore the People's House back to its rightful owners." Your opinion. "The framework for an agreement is in place, so in a good faith effort, I voted to restore the People's House by voting for GOP leader McCarthy." And then it goes on to list who else flipped in favor. So these are the holdouts that flipped in favor of McCarthy at the 12th ballot. Dan Bishop of North Carolina, Josh Breachin of Oklahoma, Michael Cloud, Chip Roy, and Keith Self, all of Texas, Andrew Clyde of Georgia, Byron Donalds and Anna Paulina Luna of Florida, Paul Gosar of Arizona, Mary Miller of Illinois, Ralph Norman of South Carolina, Andy Ogles of Tennessee, Victoria Spartz of Indiana, Republican Andy Harris of Maryland joined them on the 13th ballot. The relief in the chamber was palatable. I want to say palatable, but palpable. Palpable is the word. As each dissenter shifted their support in favor of McCarthy, with Republicans bursting into applause and offering standing ovations to their colleagues who moved the needle closer to resolution. The high-stakes impasse is historic. It's the first time in a century that election of House Speaker took multiple ballots to complete. However, the longest took place in 1855, and it lasted 133 rounds and went over 2 months. When the House can't elect a speaker, it has real consequences, including not being able to conduct business, including swearing in new members until a speaker was chosen. What they don't tell you is also you can't pay the people working for these people either, and that's kind of a real problem, because a lot of these people would probably be able to get lunches and dinners from people that supported them, but you just kind of wonder, how would the people working under them, the people that are their, office staff, how would they do if it went on for months? We're not talking 1855 where somebody could just necessarily, probably spare a basket of fruit or something to feed these people every single day. So, yeah. Without a speaker, they can't form committees, advance legislation, or participate in intelligence briefings. So that's a real problem, that last one. On Wednesday, a group of House Republican veterans held a news conference on the speaker's standoff where they referred to as being held hostage by your own people. Quote, this group has now managed to kind of snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, and the victory was this Republican majority. There's negotiations, and then there's holding the rest of us hostage, and 20 don't get to do that to 201 members elect, said Republican Michael Waltz of Florida, when he was referring to the 20 people that wouldn't vote for McCarthy. On Friday, the White House emphasized it was eager for the House to resolve the speaker's stalemate soon, but downplayed the impact to national security, saying, quote, we have vehicles to continue to communicate with both chambers of Congress, and that communication will continue throughout the foreseeable future. There is no particular worry or concern that national security will be put at significant risk here, end quote, said John Kirby, a spokesperson for the White House National Security Council. The impasse likely foreshadows the chaos expected during the next 2 years of divided government at Capitol Hill, where Republicans hold a very narrow majority, and the Conservative Freedom Caucus has shown its willingness to hold the rest of the Republican conference hostage to its demands. Friday's standoff coincides with the second anniversary of Jan 6, 2021. The attack on the U.S. Capitol, when supporters of then-President Donald Trump breached the building with the aim of stopping Congress from certifying the 2020 presidential election in favor of Joe Biden. What a day to have such an impasse go to where it almost seemed like the will of the people would not move forward. The anniversary came just weeks after a House committee investigating the attack concluded its investigation and released its full report. In it, they recommended the Ethics Committee investigate McCarthy for his refusal to comply with the panel's investigation. Many of the House Republicans who spurred on gridlock of the Speaker elections this week were supportive of Trump's effort to challenge the results of the 2020 election. The fact that Trump's endorsement of McCarthy, which he reiterated on Wednesday, did not shift significant support from those members suggested the former president's influence over them is waning. Democrat Pete Aguilar of California mentioned the attack during his speech Friday night after nominating Democrat Hakeem Jeffries of New York for Speaker. He said, quote, "If we are forced to be here this evening because of the chaos and crisis on the other side, it's only fair to point out, Madam Clerk, that the same individuals who fanned the flames of Jan 6, who told their followers and their followers' followers that they needed to fight back, and who challenged the swearing in of members based on a bogus claim of fake electors may well be in charge of the people's house if they can ever agree on who to lead them." End quote. This is interesting and good. 3 Democrats introduced a resolution to federally recognize Jan 6 as Democracy Day, encouraging state and local governments and civil groups to engage in pro-democracy programs and activities. It was sponsored by Democrats Stan Goldman of New York, Dean Phillips of Minnesota, and Jason Crow of Colorado. So that is the end of the article, but that was a very good article. One thing that I did not load for tonight's show is, and I'm going to go find it. I'm going to go find Hakeem Jeffries' speech. Okay. So this should be it. Okay, I definitely want to see this. I think you do too. So we have way too. Can I make it bigger? Do I have to just scale it, or will it?
If you are type 2 and take metformin.
Okay, I'm going to take the ad down while I try to figure out if I can make that bigger. Okay, yes, I can. Good. Okie dokie. Now get the audio up.
Caucus in the House Republican Conference. It's my high honor and distinct privilege to finally be able to welcome all of you to the 118th Congress. Let me just begin by thanking my good friend, Pete Aguilar, for his very generous words of introduction and for placing my name into nomination a total of 9 times. And I also want to thank my other colleagues from the Democratic Caucus for your generous words of nomination as well. Jim Clyburn, Catherine Clark, Ted Lieu, Dean Phillips, Joe Neguse, and Veronica Escobar. I also want to thank my colleagues, my friends in the House Democratic Caucus for your perseverance, for your strength, for your friendship, for your unanimity of purpose, and for your unanimous support. And I simply want to say that that showing of strength is not for any one particular individual. It will be a showing of strength throughout the 118th Congress, unanimity of purpose, on behalf of the American people. Before I proceed any further, let me begin by acknowledging the distinguished gentle lady from the great state of California, the iconic, the heroic, the legendary Speaker Emerita, Nancy D'Alessandro Pelosi. And without question in my mind, Speaker Emerita Pelosi will go down in history as the greatest speaker of all time. Throughout her time in Congress, she's been a legendary legislator, a fabulous facilitator, and a no-nonsense negotiator. We know that Nancy Pelosi is a woman of faith, a loving wife, a mother of 5, a grandmother of 9, a defender of democracy, a voice for the voiceless, and a powerful champion for the children, the climate, Charm City, California, the caucus, the Congress, the country, and the Constitution. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for all that you have done. It's an honor to stand on your broad shoulders, as well as the shoulders of the great Steny Hoyer and the great Jim Clyburn, 2 consequential leaders in their own right. Now, the scripture says in Galatians, let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time, we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Over the last 2 years, House Democrats, in partnership with President Biden and our colleagues in the Senate, have been hard at work on behalf of the American people, getting big things done. We passed the American Rescue Plan, saved the economy from a deep recession, put shots in arms, money in pockets, and kids back in school. We passed the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act to create millions of good-paying jobs, fix our crumbling bridges, roads, tunnels, our airports, a sewer and water system, our mass transportation systems, and ensure high-speed internet access in every single community. We passed gun safety legislation for the first time in 30 years that will save lives and make our communities safer. We passed the Chips and Science Act to bring domestic manufacturing jobs back home to the United States of America and ensure that our workforce has the skills to succeed in the 21st century economy. And we passed the Inflation Reduction Act to strike a dramatic blow against the climate crisis, set our planet on a sustainable trajectory forward, lower energy costs, strengthen the Affordable Care Act, lower healthcare costs, and drive down the high price of life-saving prescription drugs for millions of Americans. It was one of the most consequential Congresses in American history. President Biden gets the job done, and the D in Democrat stands for deliver. So over the next 2 years, over the next 2 years, as we begin this 118th Congress, let us continue to fight for a lower cost. Let us continue to fight in this Congress for better paying jobs. Let us continue to fight in this Congress for safer communities. Let us continue to fight in this Congress to defend democracy. Let us continue to fight in this Congress to put and protect the public interest. Let us continue to fight in this Congress for economic opportunity in every single zip code. And let us continue to fight in this Congress for reproductive freedom. Because as Democrats, we do believe in a country for everyone. We do believe in a country for everyone, a country that provides for the poor, works for working families, makes sense for the middle class, stands up for senior citizens, innovates in the inner city, strengthens suburban communities, helps out the heartland, and revitalizes rural America. We believe in a country with liberty and justice for all, equal protection under the law, free and fair elections, and yes, we believe in a country with the peaceful transfer of power. We believe that in America, our diversity is a strength. It is not a weakness. An economic strength, a competitive strength, a cultural strength. Our diversity is a strength. It is not a weakness. We are a gorgeous mosaic of people from throughout the world. As John Lewis would sometimes remind us on this floor, we may have come over on different ships, but we're all in the same boat now. We are white, we are black, we are Latino, we are Asian, we are Native American, we are Christian, we are Jewish, we are Muslim, we are Hindu, we are religious, we are secular, we are gay, we are straight, we are young, we are older, we are women, we are men, we are citizens, we are dreamers. Out of many, we are one. That's what makes America a great country. And no matter what kind of haters are trying to divide us, we're not going to let anyone take that away from us. Not now, not ever. This is the United States of America, a land of opportunity. The fact that I'm able to stand up here today is another data point in that narrative. I was born in Brooklyn Hospital, raised in a working class neighborhood in Crown Heights, grew up in the Cornerstone Baptist Church, started off in the cradle roll department, somehow survived the violence of the crack cocaine epidemic, and wound up here in the United States Congress as the highest ranking Democrat in the House of Representatives. America, truly a land of opportunity. Government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So on this first day, let us commit to the American dream, a dream that promises that if you work hard and play by the rules, you should be able to provide a comfortable living for yourself and for your family, educate your children, purchase a home, and one day retire with grace and dignity. Let us commit on this first day to lift up the American dream for every single person in this nation. Now, I recognize that this is a moment of transition. As we transition from one Congress to the next, from one majority to the next. From a year of accomplishment, to a year of ambiguity, a moment of transition. The American people, understandably, after the events of this week, recognize that the Congress is at a fork in the road and are asking the question, what direction will we choose? On this first day, I do not pretend to answer that question on behalf of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, but we do extend our hand of partnership to you and want to make clear that we extend and intend to try to find common ground whenever and wherever possible on behalf of the American people. Not as Democrats, not as Republicans, not as independents, but as Americans. But I also want to make clear that we will never compromise our principles. House Democrats will always put American values over autocracy, benevolence over bigotry, the Constitution over the cult, democracy over demagogues, economic opportunity over extremism, freedom over fascism, governing over gaslighting, hopefulness over hatred, inclusion over isolation, justice over judicial overreach, knowledge over kangaroo courts, liberty over limitation, maturity over Mar-a-Lago, normalcy over negativity, opportunity over obstruction, people over politics, quality of life issues over QAnon, reason over racism, substance over slander, triumph over tyranny, understanding over ugliness, voting rights over voter suppression, working families over the well-connected, xenial over xenophobia, yes we can over you can't do it, and zealous representation over zero-sum confrontation. We will always do the right thing by the American people. So let us not grow weary of doing good, for the American people will reap the benefit of the harvest if we do not give up. God bless you, God bless the House, and God bless the United States of America.
Sorry, microphone was muted. Wow, what a powerful speech that was. That was really, really good. Definitely really, really good. He's headed places either in the House, possibly if he has designs to be headed somewhere in the Senate. Or when you all think possibly he's headed to the office of the president at some point with speaking like that. He was really good. So that was definitely worth watching. Next topic. We talked about this earlier this week on other talk shows. President Biden makes his first visit to the southern border as president. Article from today, written at 3:47 p.m. Eastern Time by Gila Hayward. The president is visiting the U.S.-Mexico border for the first time in office. He stopped on Sunday, stopping in El Paso, Texas, on his way to Mexico. This visit comes after 2 years of back and forth with Republicans over the Biden administration's immigration policy. Republican state officials in the Biden administration are sparring over the future of Title 42, an early pandemic-era policy that lets the U.S. quickly expel most migrants seeking asylum without a hearing. By the way, I want to welcome our regular Robin Brazel here and everybody else that has jumped into chat tonight. We now have, well, we did have 19 on YouTube. Looks like we have 18 now. And Wes Webb, thank you for cheerleading, getting those likes, and asking people to subscribe. I appreciate that. Continuing the article, last month in the victory for Republicans, the Supreme Court blocked the Biden administration from winding down the policy. They announced that they would expand the policy to include people from Nicaragua, Cuba, and Haiti who illegally enter the U.S. through Mexico, but would also expand legal pathways for entering the U.S. The U.S. plans to accept up to 30,000 migrants from Cuba, Nicaragua, Haiti, and Venezuela next month. The president said the following: people come to America for a whole lot of different reasons, to seek new opportunity in what is the strongest economy in the world. Can't blame them wanting to do it. They flee oppression, to the freest nation in the world. They chase their own American dream in the greatest nation in the world. That is a direct quote from our president from a January 5th speech this year. Immigrant advocates argue that Title 42 uses the pretense of public health to instead block access to protections from those seeking asylum. For months, Republican governors have been sending buses filled with migrants to Washington, D.C. and other so-called sanctuary cities as part of their campaign to call for tighter borders. Greg Abbott of Texas, the governor there, has sent many of the buses hand-delivered a letter to Biden during his visit. The governor has been one of the most vocal critics of the Biden administration's immigration policy. And in his letter, Greg Abbott, governor of Texas, wrote, quote, "Your open border policies have emboldened the cartels who grow wealthy by trafficking deadly fentanyl and even human beings. Texans are paying an especially high price for your failure, sometimes with their very lives, as local leaders from your own party will tell you if given the chance," end quote. That is Abbott's letter. That is not necessarily fact. Biden is traveling to Mexico City later on Sunday, where he will attend the North American Leaders Summit. So what the article doesn't tell you is that the nature of the way that they count the people right now is, when you send them back and they come back over the border, they get counted again. So it makes it look like there is all these people coming over in greater numbers, whereas Trump kept them out. He just didn't let anybody in. He didn't care about any asylum seekers, nobody, nothing. Okay. This is another Republican issue that I have. So this is one. This is from yesterday, 11:01 a.m. Eastern Time. It's an Associated Press article picked up by NPR. U.S. Appeals Court locks a ban on rapid-fire bump stocks. In New Orleans, a Trump administration ban on bump stocks, devices that enable a shooter to rapidly fire multiple rounds from semi-automatic weapons after an initial trigger pull, was struck down Friday by a federal appeals court in New Orleans. The ban was instituted after a gunman perched in a high-rise hotel using bump-stop-equipped weapons massacred dozens of people in Las Vegas in 2017. Gun right advocates have challenged it in multiple courts. The 13-3 ruling at the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals is the latest on the issue, which is likely to be decided at the Supreme Court. The decision doesn't have an immediate effect on the ban, though, because the case now moves back to the lower court to decide how to proceed. The case was somewhat unique because the issue involves not the Second Amendment, but the interpretation of federal statutes. Opponents of the ban argue that bump stocks do not fall under the definition of illegal machine guns in federal law. U.S. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives says they do, a position now being defended by the Biden administration. So here's the following quote: "A plain reading of the statutory language paired with close consideration of the mechanics of a semi-automatic firearm reveals that a bump stock is excluded from the technical definition of machine gun set forth in the Gun Control Act and National Firearms Act," end quote. That is from Judge Jennifer Walker Elrod, and she's the one who wrote the majority opinion in the 13-3 vote to overturn the policy. Hi, Nick Rich, 56. Good evening. Court found the definition of machine gun, which is set out in 2 different federal statutes, does not apply to bump stocks. Ban had survived challenges in Cincinnati-based 6th U.S. District Court of Appeals, the Denver-based 10th Circuit, and the Federal Circuit Court in Washington. A panel of 3 judges at the 5th Circuit also issued a ruling in favor of the ban, upholding a lower court decision by a Texas federal judge, but the full New Orleans-based court voted to reconsider the case. Arguments were heard September 13th. Bump stocks harness the recoil energy of a semi-automatic firearm so that a trigger, quote, resets and continues firing without additional physical manipulation of the trigger by the shooter, end quote, according to the ATF. Shooter must maintain constant forward pressure on the weapon with the non-shooting hand and constant pressure on the trigger with the trigger finger, according to court records. Full Appeals Court Friday sided with opponents of the ATF rule. They had argued that the trigger itself functions multiple times when a bump stock is used, so therefore bump stock weapons do not qualify as machine guns under federal law. They point to language in the law that defines a machine gun as one that fires multiple times with a, quote, single function of a trigger. Most of the majority also agreed that if the law is ambiguous, it's up to Congress to address the issue under a court doctrine known as lenity. In the dissent, Judge Stephen Higson agreed that bump stocks don't fall under the federal definition of machine guns, and he wrote the majority's interpretation of the lenity principle was too broad. He wrote, quote, "Under the majority's rule, the defendant wins by default whenever the government fails to prove that a statute unambiguously criminalizes the defendant's conduct," end quote. Richard Sample argued against the rule on behalf of a Texas gun owner, said he was pleased with Friday's ruling and had expected it after the September arguments. The Justice Department did not immediately respond to messages seeking comment on Friday evening. Judges ruled against the ban. These judges ruled against the ban and were Elrod, Priscilla Richmond, Edith Jones, Jerry Smith, Carl Stewart, Leslie Southwick, Carinthia Haynes, Don Willett, James Ho, Kyle Duncan, Kurt Engelhart, Corey Wilson, Andrew Oldham. All but Stewart are Republican appointees to the appeals court, excuse me. No surprise there. Higginson's dissent was joined by Judges James Dennis and James Graves. The case was argued before Judge Dana Douglas, a recent appointee of the Democratic President Joe Biden, and joined the Fifth Circuit. So, if you live in New Orleans and you're a Democrat and you want to change this, and these people are up for staying in office or not, go read the article, get their names, and choose to try to vote them out. However, if your state of Louisiana is like my state of Florida, you'll have a hard time doing that because people usually vote to keep judges and justices and so forth, or they're appointed and they just sort of just stay there until they want to leave. Going to jump to this one. I don't necessarily do these in order in the way I select them. I change the order as I go along. A little behind the scenes information there for you. China's reopened its borders to tourists after 3 years of COVID-19 closure. This is from today, 5:05 this morning Eastern. After years of separation from his wife in mainland China, Hong Kong resident Chung Sheng-boon, trying to say that right, made sure to be among the first in line following the reopening Sunday of border crossing points. The ability of residents of the semi-autonomous southern Chinese city to cross over is one of the most visible signs of China's easing of border restrictions imposed almost 3 years ago, with travelers arriving from abroad no longer required to undergo expensive and time-consuming quarantines. That comes even as the virus continues to spread in China. Emphasize that comes even as the virus continues to spread in China, amid what critics say is a lack of transparency from Beijing. Chung said, "I'm hurrying back to her." Okay, there's no more to his quote. He was lugging a heavy suitcase, and he said it as he prepared to cross at Lok Mu Chau station, which is steadily filling with eager travelers. Those crossing between Hong Kong and mainland China, however, are still required to show a negative COVID-19 test taken within the last 48 hours, a measure China has protested when imposed by other countries. They just want to get their people out of their country. Hong Kong has been hit hard by the virus, and its land and sea border checkpoints with the mainland have been largely closed for almost 3 years. Despite the risk of new infections, the reopening that will allow tens of thousands of people who have made prior online bookings to cross each day is expected to provide a much-needed boost to Hong Kong's tourism and retail sectors. Nothing ever stops the money flow. On a visit to the station Sunday morning, Hong Kong's chief executive John Lee said the sides would continue to expand the number of crossing points from the current 7 to the full 14. Quote, "The goal is to get back as quickly as possible to pre-epidemic normal life. We want to get cooperation between the two sides back on track," end quote, said Lee when talking to reporters. Communist Party newspaper Global Times quoted Tan Luming, a port official in Shenzhen on the border with Hong Kong, saying about 200 passengers were expected to take the ferry to Hong Kong, while another 700 were due to travel in the other direction on the first day of reopening. Tan said a steady increase in passenger numbers is expected over coming days. A Hong Kong woman identified only by her surname Sheng said the following on arrival to Shenzhen, where she was presented with roses and health kits. She said, I stayed up all night and got up at 4 a.m. I'm so excited to return to the mainland to see my 80-year-old mother. Ah. Hong Kong media reports said around 300,000 travel bookings from the city to mainland China have already been made, with a daily quota of 60,000. Limited ferry service was also restored from China's Hunan province to the Taiwanese-controlled island of Kinmen, just off the Chinese coast. The border crossing with Russia in, I'm going to try to say that, Shanghai, in the northern province of Heangong, also resumed normal operations just in time for the opening of the ice festival in the capital of Harbin, a major tourist draw. And at Ruli, on the border of Myanmar, normal operations were resumed after 1,012 days of full or partial closure in response to repeated outbreaks blamed partly on visitors from China's neighbor. So far, only a fraction of the previous number of international flights are arriving at major Chinese airports. Yeah, maybe people aren't eager to go there where they know the outbreak is still going on. Beijing's main capital international airport was expecting 8 flights from overseas on Sunday. Shanghai, China's largest city, received its first international flight under the new policy at 6:30 a.m., with only a trickle of others to follow. Since March 2020, all international passenger flights bound for Beijing have been diverted to designated first points of entry into China. Passengers were required to quarantine for up to 3 weeks. Ooh, that could put a curtailment on anybody going anywhere. Yvonne Tang, a Hong Kong business traveler, said the following, quote, I've been under isolated quarantine for 6 times in different cities. In parentheses, it says in mainland China. They were not easy experiences. Yeah. I mean, if they put you away 6 times and held you for 3 weeks each time, that's 18 weeks out of your life with nothing going on. So, and if you don't see yourself, Corey, make sure you're in live chat. YouTube defaults to Top Chat. Top Chat doesn't show people that are new here. That works that way in all YouTube everywhere. Unfortunately, we can't default you to live chat, because if we could, boy, we sure would, but we can't. YouTube, for some reason, thinks that you should see the most frequent chatters rather than seeing everyone. In my world, it would be the other way around. You'd see everyone, and then if you didn't want to see everyone, you would pick the top chatters. Ming Gane, a Chinese living in Singapore, said it had been difficult both to book a ticket and find someone to take a PCR test. Quarantine measures and uncertainty about outbreaks had kept him away from home, Ming said. Shanghai announced it would again start issuing regular passports to Chinese for foreign travel and family visits, as well as renewing and extending visas for foreigners. Those restrictions have been, put a word in there that doesn't belong. Those restrictions have had a particularly devastating effect on foreign business people and students in the key Asian financial center. China is now facing a surge in cases and hospitalizations in major cities, and is bracing for a further spread into less developed areas with the start of its most important holiday, the Lunar New Year, in coming days. Okay, so they do not celebrate the lunar. They have the Lunar New Year, not the Gregorian calendar New Year. How do you change this setting? Go up to the top of your chat window, and you'll see up there, and it says Top Chat. You click on that, and it changes it to live chat. That's how you change the setting. Authorities say They expect domestic rail and air journeys will double over the same period last year, bringing overall numbers close to those numbers from 2019 in the holiday period before the pandemic hit. More foreign governments are imposing testing requirements on travelers from China. Most recently, Germany, Sweden, and Portugal. On Saturday, German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock, urged citizens to avoid unnecessary travel to China, noting the rise in coronavirus cases and China's overburdened health system. German regulation also allows for spot checks on arrival. Germany, like other European nations, will test wastewater from aircrafts for possible new virus variants. The measures come into force at midnight Monday and are due to last until April 7th. Apparently concerned about its reputation, China says that testing requirements aren't science-based. Does that sound familiar? China says testing requirements are not science-based and has threatened unspecified countermeasures. Like what? Chinese health authorities published a daily count of new infections, severe cases, and fatalities, but those numbers only include officially confirmed cases and use a very narrow definition of COVID-19 related deaths. Does that sound familiar? That sounds familiar. It's like China's been taking a chapter from our Florida governor's book. National Health Commission on Sunday reported 7,072 new confirmed cases of local transmission and 2 deaths, even as individual provinces were reporting as 1 million cases per day. Again, sounds a lot like Florida, cooking the books. Crossing my fingers. My opinion, can't get the statistics to prove it, but look at the statistics that existed before the governor of the state of Florida blocked all those statistics. Look at those statistics, come to your own conclusion. Authorities say that since the government ended compulsory testing and permitted people with mild symptoms to test themselves and convalesce at home, it can no longer provide a full picture of the outbreak. Yeah. China's vulnerabilities are increased by the population's general lack of exposure to the virus and a relatively low vaccination rate among the elderly. Well, what would you vaccinate them with anyway? The Chinese vaccine is not effective. It is not the vaccines available in the United States of America, so can't really do anything with a mediocre, ineffective vaccine. Government spokespeople insist the situation is under control and reject accusations from the World Health Organization and others that they're not being transparent about the outbreak that could lead to the emergence of new variants. The Health Commission on Saturday rolled out regulations for strengthened monitoring of viral mutations, including testing of urban wastewater. The rules called for increased data gathering from hospitals and local governments, health departments, and stepped-up checks on, quote, pneumonia of unknown causes. Criticism largely focused on heavy-handed enforcement of regulations, including open-ended travel restrictions that saw people confined to their homes for weeks, sometimes sealed inside without adequate food or medical care. Yes, that's the other problem in China, is that they just seal them up and they don't bring them food or medical care. Anger was also vented over the requirement that anyone who potentially tested positive or had been in contact with such a person be confined for observation in a field hospital where overcrowding, poor food, and hygiene were commonly cited. Definitely a recipe for getting worse if you are sick. The social and economic costs eventually prompted rare street protests in Beijing and other cities, possibly influencing the Communist Party's decision to swiftly ease the strictest measures. So that's the end of the article. So that's what's going on in China in regards to COVID-19. Possibly should have looked at this one earlier, but it helps to mix up the topics. So we discussed earlier the primary title topic of McCarthy finally winning the speakership. So this is an article from Ron Elving of NPR. By the way, thank you to NPR for all of the previous articles which I've shown tonight, which you can see are from NPR. Go to npr.org to read these yourself or to read similar articles. McCarthy's struggles point to his troubles ahead for his office and his party in Congress. As the House began grinding through the 15th roll call vote, Republican nominee Kevin McCarthy said he did not have a problem with setting a record for such votes. And it could have been appealing for patience. Of course, he didn't break the actual record of 133 ballots needed in 1855, which we stated earlier. And he may have been thinking of breaking the highest number needed since that record, which was 9 rounds in 1923. As one suspects, he also knows that needing several days and multiple votes to become speaker means he does indeed have a problem. Yes, he does, because he does not have a consensus of votes among his party. It would be different, would be different if we had, and we do have a few, I know we have a couple of independent senators. I have to stop and think. Do we have independent House before I say that? Do we have independent? So I'm going to ask, are there independent members in the 118th Congress? So I'm just going to look at this statistic myself. Okay, 29% of the members of Congress are women, with only 25% in the Senate. So that's interesting. But I don't know that it gets into what I'm really looking for. This doesn't get into party makeup beyond the thing. So I have to look that up. I'll look that up next. Jim says all the journalists are going nuts because they don't have a new crisis every day like with 45. So now we have endless articles all saying the same thing. Maybe so, Jim. But I'll look that up next. I'll see if I can get a breakdown. I know that we have independents in the Senate. I don't know that we have people of a party other than Democratic or Republican in the House. If you do know, then just go with that, So anyway, in the first week of the 118th Congress has been any indication, McCarthy's going to have many adventures at the helm of the House's new Republican majority. His term is expected to last 2 years, but one of the concessions he negotiated to secure the job makes it relatively easy for one member of the House to call for a vote to replace him. Now, we did go over that earlier, but some of you tuned in late. And he must know that history's not been kind to speakers who needed more than one ballot to grasp the gavel. The vote in 1923 was the only other instance of a speaker needing even a second round of voting in the past century. The speaker was Frederick H. Gillett of Massachusetts, who would hang on for 2 more years and move to the Senate. Before Gillett, you have to go all the way back to the dramatic confrontations over slavery in the antebellum period. The throwdowns over who would be speaker were not infrequent. In those years, the House often had multiple parties, making it difficult for any party's leader to get a majority. Now, if you're too young, you don't remember, but we had, was it back then? I know from history, I know we had Democratic, Republican. I know that we used to have something called Democratic Republican until the two were split. I know that we had Whig Party, but I don't know if that dates back that far without looking. I'm not a historian, and I don't know the dates that well. And once one got the job, they usually didn't last long in it. So speakers like Nancy Pelosi or, others that names that you can think of that have been around a long time in that office. They're a modern thing sometimes. In the first 70 years of Congress, a dozen speakers needed multiple ballots. 8 of them would serve only one term as speaker. But Bob and Boy Banks in 1855 is the one who holds that record. And his real name was Nathaniel Banks. His name, Bob and Boy, was a holdover from his childhood job in a textile factory. He was just 39, a member of the American Party known for its nativist views on immigration. Hang on one second while I mute my microphone and take a drink. I need one. Oh, that's so much better. The party was also known for resisting questions with claims of innocence. I know nothing. Makes me think of Sergeant Schultz from Hogan's Heroes. I know nothing about the party, they said, so they came to be known as the Know Nothings. In their heyday, they had about a third of the seats. Banks was opposed to the expansion of slavery in Western states and territories. And that issue had been thrust to the forefront in his day by the frightening violence against abolitionists and pro-slavery settlers along the Kansas-Missouri border. Some of that passion was manifest around the Capitol as well, with members sometimes coming to blows. Just a few months after Banks became Speaker, Massachusetts Senator Charles Sumner was beaten to the floor in the Senate chambers by a keen-wielding Representative Preston Brooks of South Carolina, an incident depicted in many a high school history textbook. Focus on slavery made allies of Banks and a fledgling Republican Party that was rising in the Midwest from the ashes of the old Whig Party. Okay, so I was right. The Whig Party was around. I don't have to go research that. But there were Democrats and several other parties in the mix, and Banks was just one of 21 candidates nominated on the first day of voting. Midday through that December, on the 33rd ballot, Banks pulled in the lead for the first time over a pro-slavery Democrat from Illinois. So it went a lot more than 33 ballots, but it took him 33 ballots just to get into the lead. The article states, it should be noted in this era, Congress was following the original schedule from the Constitution. A Congress elected in November of an even-numbered year would be in office on the following March, but would not actually convene to do business until next December. Current schedule adopted in 1933 by Constitutional Amendment convenes each new Congress on January 3rd of the odd-numbered year. Interesting. So when Banks was seeking the speakership, the voting began in December and ran into February. Late in the game, Banks' ultimate Democratic rival emerged, William Aiken Jr. of South Carolina. He consolidated the Southern votes and seemed destined to win as the field was winnowed to the final few. He was thought to have the commitments of several members whose previous choice had dropped out, but not all of those switches came through. Sound familiar? So Banks prevailed 103 to 200. Okay, from that you can tell that there were a lot fewer people in the House at that time if there were only 203 votes. Banks' contest stands out for its length and the backdrop of, quote, bleeding Kansas, end quote, but three-other speakership contests required more than a dozen rounds voting to reach resolution in the 19th century. Each of them was roiled by the issue of slavery. One would be the last speaker vote prior to Civil War. It took place over 2 months beginning in December 1859. At the conclusion of Banks' 2 years, it took 44 rounds to choose William Pennington of New Jersey. He was the first Republican ever elected as Speaker. And that year was the year that Abraham Lincoln was elected president, which was the first time there was a Republican president. The overriding concern of the 36th Congress was the threat of civil war, with abolitionists and descendants on one side and defenders of slavery and rights on the other. A decade earlier, a similar showdown had needed more ballots, 63, but only a few weeks' time in 1849. Pro-slavery Democrats gained the upper hand and chose one of their own, Hal Cobb of Georgia, who would later be governor of that state as well as the founder of the Confederacy. Cobb would be associated with the legislative landmarks of the 31st Congress. So let me just stop there. Seeing as how his name is Cobb, I'd be willing to bet you Monopoly dollar that Cobb County in Georgia is named for him. Cobb would also be associated with the legislative landmarks of the 31st Congress, the Fugitive Slave Act, which returned slaves captured to the people that enslaved them, and the compromise in 1850, the last attempt of negotiators to settle the issue of slavery's expansion in the vast territories just acquired in the war with Mexico. Okay, 3 decades earlier, required 22 ballots in the 16th Congress to settle, with John Taylor of New York as successor to Speaker Henry Clay of Kentucky, who resigned after negotiating the Missouri Compromise of 1820. Okay, all you history buffs know what that is. I'm not one of you. Clay's deal admitted Missouri with enslaved people and Maine in a free state and drew a line across the country that was to determine which states were permitted slavery or which were free. I'm guessing, let's go ahead and look it up, Missouri Compromise. I'm guessing that is what allowed Missouri to enter the United States. Yes, admitted Missouri as a slave state and Maine as a non-slave state. Okay. Okay. I keep moving the wrong mouse. Compared with the contentions and often violent history of the antebellum Congress, the Capitol in the 20th century witnessed generations of relative calm, and after World War II, the contests for Speaker were as predictable as clockwork. Okay, so After World War II, every 2 years, they basically voted. Whoever was in charge, whichever party won the majority, boom, one vote, speaker instantly voted upon. Almost as boring as you know, most presidential elections. I mean, there are times when obviously in the case of the 45th president, where the popular vote does not determine who the president was. But the one thing that I point out here most of all, though, is think about how typically by a certain point, because all 50 states don't vote at the same time, by a certain point, we already know who's going to win the primary. So it was as predictable as that. That pattern held for half a century, but weakened in the 1990s, giving way to a trend toward speakers holding on to just enough votes to squeak through, often by relying on some party members to vote present to decrease the number needed for a majority. That trend recently undermined the standing of speakers in both parties and foreshadowed the crisis that struck this past week. For all her success as the first woman to be speaker, Nancy Pelosi of California was less dominant in her second tour because that year she had 12 Democrats vote against her, with 3 more voting present. So her first time around, she was, widely supported. But her second time around, she had some dissenting votes. So 2 years later, Pelosi's Democrats barely hung on to the House majority, even as Democrats were taking the Senate and the White House. Pelosi got another term as Speaker by limiting her 2021 defections to 5. A less than solid vote for Speaker has been a warning for 3 of the last 4 Republicans who held the job. John Boehner of Ohio cleared the bar to remain Speaker in 2015 despite 25 Republicans voting for someone else. But in October of that year, in mid-session, Boehner resigned the job in frustration. His rather reluctant successor was Paul Ryan of Wisconsin, who had 9 GOP colleagues vote against him. He cut that number to just 1 in winning a full term in the job in 2017, but found the battle with hardliners too exhausting and retired voluntarily the next year. Even the legendary Republican Speaker Newt Gingrich, who ended 40 years of Democrats holding the big gavel, found it hard to hold on to it himself. His first reelection as Speaker in 1997 occasioned a mini rebellion of 10 GOP members voting for other people, voting president or not voting. Surviving that, Gingrich would face down an uprising within his own leadership team the same year, but then resigned as Speaker before the end of the next, prompted by a revolt in the full GOP caucus. Now, I remember the reason why he resigned was because of all that fuss over his book deal. I may be remembering wrong. That's what I remember. Consequences beyond the individuals involved. McCarthy spent the first week of 2023 at the bottom of the proverbial rain barrel. Interesting euphemism. Hardly can say that word. Spent the first week of 2023 at the bottom of the proverbial rain barrel, derided and mocked and questioned on all sides. One can say he had the last word at week's end when he could finally take the big gavel from the Democrats and swear in the members of the 118th Congress. But the truth is, the last word is yet to be heard. McCarthy's been negotiating with several recalcitrant conservatives for weeks, offering concessions regarding House rules and the role of the leadership. In general, the dissenters have argued for larger roles in the legislative process, more amendments, more floor debates, more seats on certain powerful committees for themselves and for the rank and file. There have also been more personal recriminations about McCarthy, suggesting he could not be trusted to deliver on his concessions. Yeah, I think so. I think he's going to have a hard time. On the other hand, and very much by way of contrast, several congressional observers have suggested the greater peril from McCarthy's weakened condition is that he will stand by his concessions, and that will make the House ungovernable. Yes, because if he gives them too much power, then he is basically a speaker in name only, or a sino, S-I-N-O, as some have dubbed him. Brendan Buck, a former staffer and strategist for both Paul Ryan and Boehner. I don't know why I want to say Boehner. Probably because it says B-O-E. I don't know why, but it's Boehner. Published an editorial in the New York Times this week with a blunt message. He said, quote, "If Republicans are unable to muster the votes for Speaker, it will make it very clear from the outset they cannot be counted on to fulfill the body's basic responsibilities." Yep. It's highly likely that this article may even go on to say this, but it's highly likely he will have to resort to getting some of the Democrats to vote for things that he has to pass. What did Jim say? I want original analysis, not narration. Okay. Did you say something else too? The only reason why I'm reading all of this is so that I can react to it. So I hope that's what you were looking for, Jim. Even if McCarthy was able to hang on through repeated ballots to win, Buck wrote, the prolonged spectacle would leave Republican majority hopelessly damaged from the start, along with the institution of the House itself. Yeah, they're going to be damaged, all right. Because think of anything they want to pass. Think of anything that they want to pass and he can't get the votes for it. I mean, he's going to have a really, really hard time getting things passed if 20 people in his party decide to just say, whoa, we don't want to do that. And if what he wants to get passed is essentially what the Democrats do not want to pass, then he's going to have to make concessions. And more than likely, he's going to have to make those concessions with the Democrats to get what he wants. Because I foresee the Freedom Caucus is basically saying, screw you to him. Because, and then if he does partner with the Democrats and he fully gave them and the right to say, well, wait a minute, we don't like this guy, let's recall him, then he's totally screwed. Because we're going to repeat this vote all over again, and they're going to vote over and over again until they get a new speaker. Wes Webb says, no, he will be bipartisan and he has to be. Yeah, I really do think he has to be bipartisan. I think this forces him to be it forces him to be a lot more like Tip O'Neill. It does. The only difference is now we have a Democratic Senate and a Democratic president. And Tip O'Neill had to deal with a Republican president. And I don't remember the House and Senate makeup. I'd have to go back and look. So, I mean, the article goes on to say that there was a deep sense of division on display in the House for many hours, day after day, that was reinforced by the popular image of the institution as unserious and consumed with its own conflicts of ego and ideology. I do not watch Fox News. I do not watch Newsmax. I do not watch all of the rest of those on the Republican side. I would have been curious to see what they were saying while all this was going on. I would be curious to even know if they were talking about it. So Robbins says, prediction they will have to be dragged while kicking and screaming on the basic duties of Congress. Yes, they will. The 20 in the Freedom Caucus will. And Bezer says, I fear a moderate Dem and Republican voting bloc that passes bills that hurt everyone but the wealthy more than I fear the Freedom Caucus. Yeah, you could really worry about that. Because you could see that emerge. We haven't really had that much moderate thinking. So we'll see what happens. Although, many would argue that Biden's a moderate and things that have been passed have been moderate, not liberal enough. The memory of speakership fights leading up to the Civil War reminds us that the consequences of such dysfunction in the national government are not limited to the individual involved or institutions themselves. They affect us all. They most certainly do. The article writer is very correct there. So we're looking at a different House. The Republicans do have the lead, but they are more divided. And surprisingly, hooray for our side, 2 thumbs up. Surprisingly, the vote for Speaker, as espoused by the votes among the Democrats, shows a sense of unity, which would be awesome leading forward if the Democrats would maintain their unity and continue to work together to push what's trying to go. I got my camera reversed, so let me unreverse it. I'll turn off my camera mirror. So if my camera mirror is right, what's going to the right should end up going to the left a little bit. Okay, I'm going to put my camera back on the reverse mode because that's the way I'm used to seeing it. I'm used to seeing it in mirror image like I'm looking at a selfie. Okay. Let's see. So this is going to take place first. I think I'll save all that stuff for the end. I'll save all the stuff about space for the end. Okay. This one is a technology or a schools issue. Got to mute the mic a minute here. Better. Okay. Seattle schools are suing tech giants for harming young people's mental health. Article from today, 5:30 a.m. Eastern. It's an Associated Press article. What are they suing about? Welcome back, Nick 56. In Seattle, the public school district has filed a novel lawsuit against tech giants behind TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Snapchat, seeking to hold them accountable for a mental health crisis among youth. Boy, do we hear about all of these platforms and their effect on youth. Seattle Public Schools filed the lawsuit Friday in U.S. District Court. The 91-page complaint says social media companies have created a public nuisance by targeting their products to children. It blames them for worsening mental health and behavioral disorders, including anxiety, depression, disordered eating, and cyberbullying, making it more difficult to educate students and forcing schools to take steps such as hiring additional mental health professionals, developing lesson plans about the effects of social media, and providing additional training to teachers. How many of you have friends who talk about this all the time? And I don't believe that this is necessarily a Republican or Democrat issue. I believe that this is an issue among all people. So I'm going to bring in my guest who has popped in tonight. I'm going to add Kelly Cross to the stream. How you doing tonight, Kelly?
Hi. Sorry, I got the time wrong. I thought it was Pacific time. So I just
That's
got out of
okay.
the shower. My hair's all wet. This is what you get.
Okay. So
How
we
is
welcome.
everyone? How do I
Good.
see the chat? Oh, I see. I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I
Okay.
think it defaults to private chat between
Yeah.
you and me, but
I
then you
got
can
it.
change it.
All right.
Okay,
Well, so
so
those
you-
don't know me, I'm Kelly Cross. I've been on the show once before, and I live in Palm Springs, California, and I have a podcast called Gaslighty, although I haven't recorded it in forever because I'm going to start turning it into a YouTube show like yours.
Okay. Okay.
What are we talking about?
I was just going to get back to that.
Hi,
So let me
Wes.
put it back on
Hi,
screen.
Casper.
We just started this topic on, let me get the mouse. We just started this topic on the Seattle schools are suing tech giants for harming young people's mental health.
Okay.
And they are going after the four tech giants, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Snapchat, and they're doing it in a 91-page complaint and saying that these companies have created a public nuisance by targeting products to children, blaming them for worsening mental health, behavioral disorders, and it lists the litany: anxiety, depression, disordered eating, cyberbullying, making it more difficult to educate the students and forcing schools to take steps, hiring professionals to deal with what it's doing to the teacher's ability to teach.
I think they have a good case here. I've been talking to a lot of young people lately. I started doing that around the last election, just trying to see like what it is they hear, you know? And so I think that like forever I was thinking, the MAGA crowd, that doesn't actually get into the general population, but boy, was I wrong. These young people, 19, 20 years old, they thought vaccines had chips in them, all the QAnon crap, but they don't know where it comes from, so it is seeping into the general population, and it's very scary. And I think these tech companies should get more of a grip on what they're doing. Just my opinion.
Well, I would agree with you because...
hi, Other Kelly.
Yes, good evening, Kelly Bon Vivant.
Bon Vivant, that is a fabulous name. Love it.
I hope I'm saying it correctly.
Bon Vivant. Bon Vivant. That's how I'm going to say it.
Well, I would agree with you, Kelly, because we have people, it seems like there's a free run for the MAGA to put whatever they want on the platform. I'm going
Yeah.
to bring us back to a full
I mean,
screen.
I even had this
Oops.
young girl told me
The
that
other one.
she thought Joe Biden was a child molester, and she thought that was just common knowledge fact, you know. It's just
And it just seems like, you know, there's more of a free run for whatever the Republicans want to say on the social media than there is for their Democrats.
Mm-hmm. And supposedly we're the groomers, you know. What Wes
Exactly.
gaslighting? I think it's about sexual abusers. A little bit. It's about cults and coercive control. I'm just very interested in that. I think when I start my YouTube channel, I'm definitely going to have episodes about Scientology and all the things that I'm interested in. But I'm going to try to focus a lot on what the Republican Congress does for the next 2 years.
That should give you plenty to talk
Yeah,
about.
right. I mean, this whole mess with picking a speaker is just a preview into what we're in for.
Would you like to tell us your insights of the past few days? What did you
know
think?
what? My cable was out. So, it was a shit show. I mean, I was worse than I thought it was going to be. Way worse. I mean, I thought, you know, they would all just cave and vote for Kevin McCarthy. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be a big deal. But there was a fist fight. I missed the fist fight because my cable was down for a whole day. I was like, oh, how did I miss that? There is not enough popcorn in the world.
The title of tonight's show is like a parody to an old song. You're once, twice, 14 times a loser, and I abhor you. And I came up with that because I thought that, you know, that was like maybe what the 20 people that didn't vote for him early on were saying.
I mean, I thought they were really going to screw it up and that Hakeem Jeffries was going to become speaker, and that would have been just so delicious. But
pretty close.
Luckily for them, there were some people that could do math, you know, not Lord Boebert, but, you know, other people.
but supposedly, like Matt Gaetz really messed it up. I mean, on the 14th round.
Yeah, I had missed that. Oh, I need to get on C-SPAN and find it.
Yeah, we had the video.
I don't understand all the rules very well. Like Hal Sparks he just knows so much. That guy he's scary smart. And he was explaining like, oh, if these people vote president, blah blah. That's way over my head. Like I was just like, okay.
In a nutshell, if no one votes president, you have 435 people. So you have 435 people. So you have to have half of that. And since that's an odd number, half of that is 217. You got to go one more. You got to get to 218. But for every person that votes president, it reduces it by
the threshold, right? Yeah.
Right. So how many did he finally get in the end?
I have no idea.
I'd have to look and see how many he finally got in the end. But let's just suppose, I think they said he got 14 out of the 20, and I think he had 201, so that got him to 215. So he must have had like at least 3 present votes, I think, in order to get to that. And we went over that.
Matt Gaetz was gonna mess it up in some way, and
because he voted present when he should have voted for him.
But he can't vote for him; it would ruin his whole shtick.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all they're about is they're just a show, you know. I just keep thinking, how are they going to organize well enough to have these Hunter Biden investigations, and how are they going to organize to, like, you know, make it make sense? I can't even imagine.
I think what we're going to see is a lot of attempts to have
an investigation.
Those kind of things.
Like they think they're going to be like the January 6th committee, which is probably the best committee that's ever existed.
So it's, you know, what they might really do is perpetuate their reelection.
Oh, you think they're going to go back to the election too? Wow.
No, I'm just saying the people that bring these topics up might perpetuate their reelection within the states that elected them and in the districts that elected them, but they won't actually succeed in doing anything.
Yeah, I don't think these committees are going to work out for them. Whatever are their investigations. I mean, it's just going to be a shit show.
I mean,
I can't wait. I'm actually very excited.
it'll give them news bites on Fox News and the like, but it won't amount to
Right.
anything.
Well, that's all they care about,
Exactly, because that gets them reelected.
Yeah. I was just watching a thing about the Jan 6 committee on CNN, and they were talking about oh fuck, I just lost my train of thought. Forget that I just said that.
Well, it was interesting, and what you missed with us earlier is that earlier we were going over the fact that the vote basically dragged into the January 6th itself. So on the 2-year reminder of Jan 6, 2021, on Jan 6, 2023, that's when they're voting. And in the eyes of people that are not in the Eastern time zone, or in the eyes of people who reckon time as 6 a.m. means the next day, they didn't vote for him until 1 a.m. So they essentially kept it going through Jan 6 and into the next morning before they voted him in.
Yeah, it's very confusing to me,
So
but I'm just glad it's over.
Contentious thing,
I think I might know more than Lauren Boebert, but I am really dumb when it comes to all these rules. And
well, if you were watching earlier, you would have seen me live search for like little things, like the audience can tell you, he had to search this or he had to search that, like Missouri Compromise. I had to go look that up.
Hal Sparks is just in his brain. Like, I don't get how his brain works. It's amazing. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, he can talk about science. He can talk about history. And I mean, who knows all these rules about Congress? Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe part of it is because he never has drank or done drugs, but he really is a brilliant guy. And
that must be part of it.
Yeah, I'm sure that helped. But also, I just imagine him to be like a little kid that knows a lot, So,
Until I Die says Hal Sparks is an enigma.
He really is. He really is. And he just seems like such a good guy too,
Aaron West sends out her love to Hal. She loves it when you mention Hal.
So, did you guys see what was going on in Brazil right now?
Yeah, we went over that earlier.
God, that's crazy. I heard Steve Bannon is there. Of course he is. I mean, what the fuck are they doing? They're having their own little January 6th.
Liberal Till I Die asks, are you a fan of Hal? And the answer to that is yes. Absolutely. Kelly is a fan of Hal.
Liberal is saying, who is Kelly? That's me. Liberal.
Yeah, we have two Kellys. So I'm talking to Kelly Cross, who's on the screen.
Kelly Cross.
But Kelly Bon Vivant is also a fan of Hal.
Bon vivant.
Bon vivant. Bonjour.
Yeah, you're right, Kelly. That man can talk. And he's never boring. No. And I'm almost intimidated to even put up a YouTube show. I just don't think I could ever be that great. But I'm going to go for it anyway.
Liberal Till I Die is asking if you're famous. You are famous for having a podcast.
Yeah, so famous. I can't even go out in public anymore. I mean, it's hard, Liberal.
Doug Whedon asked more about your podcast.
Okay, well, I don't even really know when I became so obsessed with cults, but I would say I watched that HBO documentary. Well, I used to live in West Hollywood, so I was very familiar with the Scientology crowd, but I never really knew that much about them until that HBO documentary Going Clear came out, and I just found that so interesting. And then Leah Remini's show, The Aftermath, was also another thing. So I just got really into that. And plus, like, I kind of considered, the Trumpism to be a cult too. So I just sort of tied them in together. And I just really wanted a podcast. I love to talk. So it's not that great yet. I've only done like 10 episodes. And then I had a bunch of personal crap. So, but I did an episode. What was my first episode? Oh, my first episode was, it was about a guy, an abuser. This actor from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. His name's Nicholas Brendan. He abused a friend of mine, and he kind of had like a little cult of followers. So I started my first episode was about that. And what else? I did Nexium. I did Scientology. And then I started doing QAnon and the Trump cult. And yeah, I mean, you can listen to it. It's called Gaslighty. Andrea was on it once. And but yeah, I'm way more interested in doing a YouTube show now. You've inspired me, Ken. I'm going to try it.
I was looking up your podcast so the audience can have the links. So here's the Apple link to the podcast coming up on screen.
It's very amateurish, but you got to start somewhere, right?
So there's the Apple podcast links, but I would think you could find it on other places besides Apple.
Gaslighty, just look it up. There's another podcast from Nexium people. I don't know if you know about that cult, but I kind of got inspired by their podcast is called A Little Bit Culty. So I just kind of played on that Gaslighty. I like it. Hey, Andrea, my darling. How are you? Who are the Anthill kids, Corey? I was very interested in that. I might need to look that up. Anthill kids. Anthill kids cult. Huh. Thanks for the suggestion. 1977, they were a doomsday cult whose beliefs were based on the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Okay. Interesting.
Okay, so getting back to the topic that we were on earlier.
Yes, let's do it.
Interrupt me at any time if you want to talk about.
Oh, I don't have a problem with that.
So the case says defendants have successfully exploited the vulnerable brains of youth, hooking tens of millions of students across the country into positive feedback loops of excessive use and abuse of defendants' social media platforms. Worse, the content defendants curate and direct to youth is too often harmful and explosive.
I think the first time that I saw this as an issue was a long time ago when, that To Catch a Predator show was on, and how people, men were, disguising themselves as teenage boys and then meeting up with girls. So that was kind of the beginning of this for me, interested in, I definitely think that, I have friends that refuse to even be on Facebook. They just find them complicit in too many horrible things. And they, the algorithms, they push this stuff, so if you're an anorexic girl and you're constantly looking that stuff up, or if you're suicidal, they'll just keep feeding you more and more of that. And there has to be a way to stop it. Don't you think?
There should be better controls, I would think, for children.
Yeah. There's only so much parents can do. These kids are way smarter than us, and they know how to get around, whatever your parental controls are.
And that might be why Meta is saying that you have to have real identity and so forth, that you have to really be yourself.
Yeah.
Because I really don't know if it's competitor for a virtual world, Second Life could really ever tell whether people were underage or not, unless you were part of something on Second Life where you had to provide identity to get into it. Like if you were a part of a business on Second Life that met that way in order to have its business meetings, then yeah, you would have to have credentials to be part of a business and discuss something. But
they need to be doing everything they can. It'll never be perfect.
I would think so. Anyway, it says these 4 social media platforms didn't respond to their requests. So, and then it cites Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which helps protect the online companies from liability. So,
can I just interrupt you real quick?
Yes.
Cletus asked me a question. What episode was Andrea on? What was she on? I think she was on April 23rd, 2022. It says it's called A Culty Conversation Nexium. NXIVM is that called? Andrea was on that episode. Cletus. All right. So Sorry. And yes, Robin, I did see This Place Rules. I did not like that documentary. It was too loud and too much shouting. The only interesting part of that was the QAnon kids. Okay, I'm done.
That's okay. Plaintiff is not alleging defendants are liable for what third parties have said in the defendants' platforms, but rather that for defendants' own conduct. The lawsuit said defendants affirmatively recommend and promote harmful content to youth, such as pro-anorexia and eating disorder content. That's essentially what you said earlier, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, if you start looking up, like, I'm sure the kids have all kinds of crazy groups on Facebook where they are closed and private and they talk about, how to lose weight. I'm sure that goes on. I've seen crazy groups on Facebook before.
Right.
Hey, liberal tie-dye. I actually went to a Landmark Forum intro one time that my friends drug me to. The cults have tried to get me a few times, but it never works. What does that say? An average of 30% increase in the numbers of report. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's down underneath us. Let me get the mouse moving again. Lawsuit says from 09 to 19, there was an average of 30% increase in the number of Seattle public school students who reported feeling, quote, so sad or hopeless almost every day for 2 weeks or more in a row, end quote, that they stopped doing some typical activities. Don't we adults suffer from that too sometimes?
Yeah. Oh, we're just as bad with social media. I mean, yeah. But, we're adults. We should be able to control it.
If I wanted to tell on myself, I would tell how much my social media increased, but I'm not going to tell on myself.
When I didn't have internet on January 6th, I was freaking out. Like I was having withdrawals and I'm like, this is not good. I actually read a book that day and I hadn't done that in forever. And I used to be the biggest reader. So yeah, social media affects everyone negatively, but I just can't imagine. When I was a teenager, I lived for talking on the phone and I just can't even imagine what it must be like to have social media as a teenager. I mean, that just has to be so hard.
Sorry.
I'm reading some comment.
I just got a message from somebody. I'm looking to see if it's pertinent or not.
Yeah, Iris, I agree. Adults do fall into all types of cults. I mean, cult isn't just like, drinking the Kool-Aid Jim Jones. There's a lot of things that are really culty. And the human mind is so fragile, and, the cults know how to get people when they're at their most vulnerable. TikTok or TikTok, Wes says. I don't go on TikTok because Hal made me scared of it. He says it's malware. Yeah, the kids aren't on Facebook, Belzer. Yeah, they think it's for old people. How do you spell it? Tiktok, right? What's my favorite cult, Corey? NXIVM or Scientology? Probably Scientology. Actually, there's a lot. I'm sorry I got off topic, Ken.
No, it's okay.
There is a lot going on with Scientology right now. I think that they're very close to losing their tax exempt status. Leah Remini and her friends that are ex-Scientologists they're really exposing a lot. And there's some really horrible sex crimes that have been covered up that they're coming to the light here in the last couple months. And yeah, I think their membership is down to probably about 20,000 people worldwide, which is nothing. They just have a lot of money.
Okay. So the school district's asking the court to order companies to stop creating the public nuisance, to award damages, to pay for prevention, education, and treatment for excessive and problematic use of social media. While hundreds of families are pursuing lawsuits against the companies over harms they allege their children have suffered from social media, it's not clear if any other school districts have filed a complaint like Seattle's. Internal studies revealed. Okay, so we talked about this earlier on. Internal studies revealed by Facebook whistleblower Frances Haugen in 2021 showed the company knew that Instagram negatively affected teenagers by harming their body image and making eating disorders and thoughts of suicide worse. She alleged that the platform prioritized profits over safety and hid its own research from investors and the public. So, yeah, you got all that going on.
Yeah. I mean, I just remember that great takedown, AOC questioning Mark Zuckerberg. That was a great moment. Just calling him out on how, so much of this could be prevented. And, they don't give a shit. I mean, they're starting to have to, I guess, but.
I think you got a question for you that I'm not sure you answered earlier. It's on the screen now. It's from
Sorry,
Corey.
I'm having an issue.
Where do you draw the line? Like, I think it means line. It reads like, but I think
where do you draw the line between cult and a religion? I heard a lot of people call Mormonism a cult. That seems very offensive to me, but I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert either, Corey. But no, here's what I draw the line at. Like, so some people will say, Scientology is just like any other religion, but it's just new. So their theory or their ideology sounds weird to us, and I agree with that. I feel like the line is when people leave Scientology, they are stalked, harassed. They've got like that disconnection policy. So they use tax-free dollars to hire private investigators to stalk ex-members, and they cover up sex crimes. So, in some way, yeah, like Catholic Church did that as well. But, with Mormonism, I think Mormonism in general is not a cult, but there are factions of Mormonism that are definitely cult-like. I don't know enough about the Amish. I really don't. So yeah, there's a fine line, I think, but there's definitely things that are, the reason churches have tax exemption is because they're supposed to use their money for good and to help the community, and Scientology does not do that. Scientology is a criminal business. It's not a religion. Sorry, I keep getting off topic here, Ken, but they keep asking questions.
Sorry, I muted my mic. You're fine. I'm getting voice messages from someone who's asking to be on the show, and I need to clarify that we do not take call-ins. We simply take input from people on call-ins about what they want to talk about. And the main reason we don't take call-ins is because we don't have a call screener, and we don't have it set up to
Hey, Ken,
to take call-ins.
Have you thought about doing like what David Pakman does, is he gets voicemails and then he picks some voicemails and then answers them? That might be kind of interesting for you to do.
I might do that. That would be, something that could be done the next week if it was worthy.
Yeah. But you could do it like instead of like having your phone number, you can do it on Discord, I think.
Mm-hmm. I've actually done a call-in with this software.
Yeah.
I call it software, but it's really a browser app.
Right.
I've done a call-in with StreamYard, not for this show.
Is StreamYard pretty easy to use? Just off topic, but
it is.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to use, and it works a lot better.
I mean, obviously, I need to do something about my lighting and stuff, but when I have my own show, but yeah. And I'm gonna put my own show right up against yours, Ken. I'm gonna take you out. I'm just
well, then I'll come on your show.
Yeah, you can maybe be on my show. I'll think about it.
And I'll talk about what they think right here is a ghost, which is just a bad chroma.
That is a ghost. Oh my god, it looks like the ghost in 3 Men and a Baby. Do you remember that?
The only thing going on right here is a bad chroma key due to the disparate lighting I have. But oh well.
Do you remember the ghost in 3 Men and a Baby? That movie, 3 Men and a Baby. There was supposedly
I love that movie, but I don't remember the ghost.
There was there was this part where it's like, I think it's like a cardboard cutout of something, and it looks just like a ghost. That was like a big deal back then.
Templeton says it's the orbs.
Oh, I just learned what that was. I had no idea what that was. There was just that crazy QAnon lady who was saying she was quitting QAnon. And that was a big thing on Twitter for a day, and how she was so mad because no one was listening to her. And she kept saying the orbs, the orbs. I was like, what the fuck are the orbs? Man, QAnon is just, it's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
No, Corey, you know a lot about different cults that I've never even heard of. So I'll definitely look into that one too.
Okay, so I got several things about space, but this is probably the one that is more generally used. So I'm going to bring this one in because this one is about a comet.
Cletus, I don't know what I think is more dangerous. I mean, Scientology is dangerous because of all the money they have. Smaller cults are also dangerous because they're so insulated. I think the most dangerous thing going on right now is QAnon because so many people have died
Mm-hmm.
from in QAnon. I mean, yeah, Scientology has a lot of deaths too, a lot of suicides, but that murder a couple years ago, Matthew Coleman, that murdered his children because he thought they were reptilian or something. Yeah, QAnon is very dangerous because it's an online thing and it just can spreads like wildfire. Oh yes, okay, Nick. Yes, the Aftermath Foundation is a foundation run by Leah Remini and Mike Rinder, and you can donate to them. They help people leave Scientology because there's a faction of Scientology called the Sea Org, and people are in that for years and years, and they only get paid like $50 a week. So when they try to leave, they have nothing. So yeah, that's a great foundation. Are you going to tell me what orbs are, Ken?
I may have to look that up.
A bright green comet may be visible within it. Oh, okay.
So essentially, this one appealed to me because this is something that we can watch in the night sky over the northern hemisphere. And this article is by Juliana Kim, and it's basically telling us that comet known as C/2022 E3, marked by its great.
Can you give me a minute? My mom isn't feeling well. I'll be right back.
Okay.
2 seconds.
So, oops, wrong. Okay. Kelly will be back shortly. So meanwhile, we will talk about Comet C 2022 E3. Okay, Kelly's back.
But it's fine.
Okay, I just brought you back because I muted you and took you out for a minute. Is your mom okay? Because everybody's going to know.
She's okay. She's just been having dizzy spells today. I take care of my mom, and I work from home. So yeah, she's okay. I'm outside now, so I can be closer to hearing her. I'm gonna smoke a cigarette too. I don't care. I'm gonna quit in 2 weeks. I decided. Just getting ready to quit.
You're in the Pacific time zone, right?
Yep. Wes, that's so funny. He says that might be her way of saying I gotta pee. Were you here the last time I was here when I had to pee and leave the show? Kelly, my favorite cult is Los Angeles Narcos Denos. You should do it. Oh, okay. I'm writing these down. There's all kinds of cults I've never heard of. All right,
well,
Ken, I'm taking up your whole show.
No. Because honestly,
terrible.
I don't have enough topics to take up the whole show. So that's good because I'm down to about 4 topics at this point. So, yeah, yes, by all means.
I know, liberal. I know smoking can kill you.
part of the nature of being a guest on the show. Part of the nature of being the guest on the show is talking about your podcast. So, okay, you're not off topic, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, Trumpism is a cult, in my opinion.
Oh, it most definitely is.
I don't know. Did you see the clip, Ken, of those QAnon kids? Oh,
No,
you
I can't
must
see
see
that.
it. Oh my gosh. It was this
Okay.
family, and their kids were like, Biden is a child molester, and I mean, just all the cute stuff. And it was so insane. If you want to pull it up, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, you can send it to me and oops, we lost you. Well, she'll be back shortly. Probably we lost her most likely because when she went to the other screen. Okay, she's back.
Oh, I'm doing a YouTube show.
Oh, you?
That's my neighbor.
Kind of thing, so I have no idea what
She's like, what?
my niece and all them do that. Oh, they put my pretty flower out here.
Okay. It's what is that documentary called? This Place Rules. I wish I could share my screen.
Yeah, that's one of the bummers. You're on a tablet, right, or a phone?
If I send it to you on Twitter, can you play it, Ken?
Yeah, if you send it to me on Twitter, I can get it.
Oh, it's just you're gonna die. It's like one of the worst things I've ever seen. I couldn't even get it out of my head. It was so awful.
So was your neighbor coming over because you were too loud?
No. She's moving in. And
Oh.
I'm sitting outside. Pam, you're on TV right now. I don't either. I look terrible. But you know what?
Kelly, I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm not going to sleep here tonight. I'm
Okay.
on the floor over there, and I'll be here tomorrow night.
You're going to sleep on the floor?
Yeah, because I don't have Wi-Fi or internet and anything over here yet.
Do you want to sleep on our couch?
Oh, God, no. My little
Okay.
dog, he's over. He's going to spend the night with Judy.
Okay. All right. If you need anything, sorry. Sorry, Ken.
Aren't you glad it's not real TV?
I know, right? Okay. Did you check your messages?
What I was about to tell you is it's interesting that you're lighting up because when I started the show it was 4:20 p.m. your time.
I wish I had.
But it's the wrong kind of light up.
I know. I wish I had some of that right now.
So anyway,
I sent you that link. You got to play it.
okay.
Horrific.
Let me go find it. Find it on Twitter. So maybe you can take some more questions from the audience.
Sure. M. Belzer, Kelly, you're a great person. How do you know? I might be a really terrible person. Templeton, could I ever be a guest on the show? Yeah, probably. I don't see why not. Ken's pretty laid back. Let's see if I can find any more questions. Yeah, politics is a bunch of cults, Iris, but some of them are worse than others. And yes, smoking ain't the worst habit, but it's pretty bad. I don't think Ken does smoke, Corey. I have a family member I'm afraid is getting deep into a
The
cult.
answer to that is no, I do not smoke.
Yeah, it's bad. Okay, liberal tie-dye says, Kelly, I have a family member I'm afraid is getting deep into a cult. Confronting her doesn't seem to be working. What is your advice? The best advice for is make sure you stay in touch with them. Like, do not judge them. Do not tell them they're in a cult. You need to start basically answering questions or asking questions and get them thinking. And there's actually a lot more to it, but there is a guy on Twitter named, you should write this down, Chris Shelton. And he has a podcast called Sense and Sensibility, I think. And he has like so much information on this. I mean, it's very delicate, but the most important thing is do not judge them. Do not tell them they're in a cult because that's going to shut you off right away. They're just going to shut it off. What are your top 5 cult leaders? Okay. L. Ron Hubbard, David Miscavige, Scientology, Keith Raniere, Nexium, Jim Jones, and that guy that ran Heaven's Gate. Or maybe Charlie Manson, actually. Charlie Manson. We'll go with him. Have you heard about the Ross Bay cult? No, I haven't. I'll have to write that one down too. You know what I'm very interested in recently is Jared Leto, the actor, has kind of a little cult going on. I find it very interesting. Corey, what are your favorite top 5 cult leaders? Was David Koresh a cult leader? Definitely. Definitely a cult leader.
Okay, when you're ready, I've actually got the clip ready.
Play it.
Okay. You want to comment over it or you just play it?
No, let's just play it. It speaks for itself. It's really fucked up.
So here's the clip. And I'm going to take us out.
Yeah.
You want me to mute our mics so that they can hear it clean?
Yep. Sounds good.
The whole government is compromised. They made it seem like our votes counted, but our votes wasn't worth a lit fart in a wool mitten.
That seems like a good way to start the movie. My name's Andrew Callahan, and I first went viral online for interviewing people on the road, going to different conventions, conspiracy rallies, music festivals. Then in 2020, shit got super serious. Protests.
Police brutality, that shit is real.
It's revolution time. Pandemics. Remember that?
Freedom!
So this is the story of the events that led up to the January 6th Capitol riot.
We are the storm!
As I saw them unfold.
You may have gone to bed thinking this election was headed one way, and then you woke up and saw things were different and trending increasingly in another direction.
Woo! We saved the country!
We did it. We did it, Joe.
Joe Biden is the apparent winner in the state of Wisconsin.
No more mail-in ballots, Mr. Mailbox.
So while it was true that everyday people on the right were being censored and kicked off social media,
98% of the media have a leftist agenda to bring in communism and a one-world government.
it only just pushed them to alt platforms. This is the sign for a boy lover. And into tighter and tighter echo chambers.
They've been sacrificing children to Molech.
Animal human clones?
I want to start a commune. If you need anything, you get it. There is no money.
No Trump! No KKK! No fascist USA!
We were pitted against each other by organizations and individuals who do not care about us and are enriched from our division.
You are the tip of the spear!
You ever feel like you've gone too far down the rabbit hole, man?
This is only the beginning.
What's the end?
And there's no end.
My bad. I sent you the right one.
Sorry, I had a little bit of
That was
fun.
that was the wrong clip. I'm so sorry. I sent you the right one. It's on the very bottom. Can you play that one? It says Q family. I'm gonna send it. Oh wait, I'm gonna send it to you right now. Okay. It says Q family. That's the one I wanted you to play. I'm sorry. Wrong.
Well, that one was pretty good, though.
It's not a good documentary. It's just a lot of like people yelling, and just this one part that I just sent you is the best part in it. If you can play it, I'd super appreciate it.
Okay. I'll let you take more questions from the audience while
right.
I go find it.
Copyright strike? Hope not. If someone reports us.
I'm hoping they don't want to worry about copyrights when it's a promo for a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I would worry about is the music that was used. Was that music copyrighted or not?
YouTube is weird. Like my friend Aaron does this YouTube show called Growing Up in Scientology, and he keeps saying that he can't say certain words. He can't say like rape or like just I don't know. So he always has to use. He can't say suicide. He has to say unalived. It's very weird. Have any of you guys seen this clip of the Q kids? It's really like I just can't even imagine teaching your kids these things. It's just so scary to me. Oh, hey, Corey. Yeah, Corey, thanks for your top 5 cult leaders. I really don't know some of those. I'm definitely going to have to look them up.
I'm determining if, yeah, this is the right one.
This is the right one. It's yeah, that one was just, yeah.
Well, I mean, the other one was.
It's not the best documentary. It's really
the other one was informative, though. I mean, it does remind us some of the things that were actually done.
It's interesting. He went around the country and just interviewed all kinds of people, but it was edited really horribly. Like, it was just so choppy and there was a lot of yelling. It was kind of unnerving. It gave me anxiety, but you know, it could have been much better.
I mean, if we were to compare it and say what we thought of that based on that clip, it's almost like you're watching a movie like Don't Look Up. like there's a comic value associated with the lesson.
But this part, once you play it, you'll see.
So we'll see. I gotta make
Here it is.
And I guess take us out again. You don't want to talk?
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, no, I don't want to talk.
All right. Before I do that, let me turn off the autoplay so it doesn't go forward and check the levels. Okay, the levels are good. All right, I'm taking us out. Everybody stand by while I do that.
Biden's a child molester. And he kidnaps children and does horrible things to them. Just like Hillary Clinton and Obama, who made the virus. The virus is man-made. It doesn't exist. Kids need to be put back in school.
The people who are pulling the strings is the Italian Vatican. They actually are reptilian bloodlines from another planet. They're basically robots. And the evil people that are there, such as the Rothschilds, who suck blood out of children to get adrenochrome and stay young and beautiful forever, they pick them up and they take them to a submarine and go underground until they can get to Epstein Island, which is where they molest children.
That's the icebreaker. Hey, he didn't stop!
Uh-oh, he's got the pistol. Headshot.
I went to McDonald's today and I wanted to get a muffin and I found human teeth in my muffin.
Uh-oh. So what's inside McDonald's food?
I think it's like grind up children.
People do evil shit. That's it. And these people have plenty of opportunity. They got more money than God. I think the military is going to arrest the whole damn government.
Some people say that there's going to be a blackout, no television except for Donald J. Trump screening on live news. And what he's going to do is he's going to lock up all the other pedophiles and reptilian bloodlines and put them in jail.
Where do you get your information from?
The dark stream media, like I said, what you have to do is you have to search on the normal media for someone who knows how to get into the dark stream media. And another good place to check is the Trump media, which is actually telling all the truth.
At this point, I had never actually gone on a Q board. So for the first time, I had Jaden's dad, Brandon, take me headfirst into QAnon.pub, which is the main Q board.
Let me see here. Now, you have to understand that he speaks in cryptic code. There's actually a Q clock that you have to decipher all this stuff from.
So this is a actual Q drop.
Yep. Anderson Cooper, and you can see all the satanic artwork in the background, which is just troubling. I mean, you have a man here getting burned alive while there's some sort of satanic ritual going around in the background.
I see that sacrifice is misspelled. Do you think that's also cryptic?
Yeah, absolutely. These guys are smart. Anything that's misspelled, anything that looks out of the ordinary, there's something to it. The purpose of the movement is to question everything. Inside the pepper, you have that upside down kind of triangle, if you will. Yeah. This is the sign for a boy lover right here.
Woo! Trump! He's still your president! He's still your president! He's still your president!
They are very, very good kids. We're very blessed. And that's why I'm comfortable with making the decision to keep them out of school. Even that means they don't have all the friends to be around. And, you know, I don't want my kids wearing a mask.
Do you guys miss going to school?
Very much. It's not, the virus is man-made, like my dad said, so it's worthless not going to school. But we're gonna have to wear the mask like for 24/7 if we have to go back. Except like on
Imagine
weekends.
if coronavirus never exists. Would you like to go back to school?
Yeah. I was not with my friends. My mom is saying like she wants to homeschool us, but the only thing that's holding her back is our friends. I don't have a lot of friends. I just have like one or two.
You have
I have 0.
Yes, come on. Everyone has one friend.
You have us at least. Okay.
Yeah. Which friend do you miss the most?
Probably like Caitlin,
Why?
cause she's like the only one who gets me.
It's sad that they don't have a lot of friends to play with, but I think in the long run, they'll be better adults having a better education than being popular.
Is that not like one of the most horrible things you've ever seen?
Yep, but I'm not completely surprised by it. I mean, we have people among us who believe everything they hear from.
Yeah, but you wouldn't think that they would get their kids involved in something like that. I mean, to them even know who Jeffrey Epstein is. I mean, and there's absolutely nothing that can be done about it. People are like, oh, call CPS. I work in family law, so CPS will only get involved if they're like hungry, being beaten. I mean, they wouldn't do anything about this.
Human enough being, it's possible that we will get a copyright strike, but after all, it is a promotional material for the things, so I wouldn't think so.
Well,
We'll
I hope you don't get one.
But you know, at least the live audience got to see it, and if it doesn't show up in a replay or if it's gone,
I've seen things on YouTube where they play like a whole movie. So
yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of a trailer, Wes, but it was really the only interesting thing in that movie, to be honest. Like I said, it was just bad editing, but they do go back to that family at one point, and you know, after all the things did not come true, and they seem to have been changing their tune a little. So thank God. Hopefully those kids are back in school. Kelly, did it say trailer or teaser? What did it say? I don't know. It doesn't say either. Just look up Q Family, This Place Rules if you want to see it. And it's on HBO, the movie. Is everything okay, Ken?
No, I was attempting to
you.
wave goodbye to Templeton because Templeton was leaving, and I didn't know how fast Templeton was going.
No, Corey was asking, is everything okay? I don't know.
No, I was just trying to wave goodbye to Templeton, but it's kind of difficult on a half screen because I don't know where the camera is going to show my hand. So I should have put it right in front of my face, but it still looks sideways and weird. But no. And they may be, when they say what happened, they may be a few seconds behind and see when the screen went black.
Oh, okay.
Because I really don't have a way to like transition from us, you know, showing the video full screen and coming back to us.
I think
not smoothly.
It takes time probably to get your show running smoothly.
Some of these individuals watching may be a few seconds behind. So I'll count to 10. I'll count from 10 to 1. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Hit the live button on your screen. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Now, if you hit the live button on your screen, you may be pseudo live and you won't be behind and we'll all be on the same page.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I mean, if you go back and look at Midas Touch, like 2 years ago, it's like night and day. I think it just takes time to learn how to use this software and make it go smoothly.
Just kind of depends on what you want to do. And a couple of times I thought I was soloing a video and then I was advised that my mic was open and I was drinking water. So I tried not to do that. And that's why I took us off the screen.
Could be worse. You could have gas or something. You could have a Rudy COVID fart. There's a CNN special on tonight that I want to watch. It's called What Happened to America's Mayor. What did happen to America's mayor?
Mm. Yeah.
I've never seen such a tragic downfall in my entire life than Rudy Giuliani.
Mm-hmm.
What a mess he is.
I think one of the ways that the other channels get around this business is that you know, they pre-do their video, you know, because you notice, like, you know, they always have the thing at the end that lets them promote their channel. You know, for more videos, go see Midas Touch.
Right.
For more videos, go see whoever, and so forth.
Yeah.
I need
David Pacman has a very smooth.
I need to answer a message. So will you take some more questions from the
Sure.
audience, and I'll answer a message again.
Sure, audience. Does Ken play the piano? I don't know. We'll have to ask him when he gets back. Yeah, I'm very curious to see this documentary about Rudy Giuliani. I mean, it's just crazy what's happened to that guy. I think he's very sick. I really think that alcohol is the question. I mean, is the problem there. Question: are live streams free for you guys? I don't know what you mean. Are they free? You don't have to pay to stream on YouTube. Has Ken read all those books, Kelly? I don't know Ken well enough to know if he's read all those books.
Live streaming on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch is free. It's the app that makes it possible to do all three at once that costs money.
I want to get a mic, the whole shebang. Kelly, how did you get interested in cults? I said it earlier. I used to live in West Hollywood, so I worked at Paramount Pictures for a while, and right around that time, I mean, Scientology is kind of everywhere in West Hollywood, and right around that time, Tom Cruise was getting really back into Scientology after his divorce from Nicole Kidman, and apparently he was trying to find a girlfriend. Like, he can't get a girlfriend, so they were auditioning girls on the Paramount lot to see if they could find a girlfriend for him. And I guess maybe Katie Holmes was in there somehow. And that's when that whole craziness with Katie Holmes. And then, yeah, I just watched some documentaries. I just got very interested in them. I always thought cults were just for stupid people that got duped, but that's not the case. I mean, most people in Scientology and NXIVM are very intelligent people. So I think it's just being a seeker that gets them. Let's see. So that's how I got interested. There's a really great YouTube channel called Growing Up in Scientology. I highly recommend it. Oh, my Nirvana shirt. Yes. Top 5 Seattle bands. Well, Nirvana, play Soundgarden. I don't know. Was Stone Temple Pilots a Seattle band? I'm really not sure. Are you religious, Kelly? No, not at all. I did not grow up with any religion. I went to Catholic school my junior year. I found it very fascinating. So no, never been religious. I'm really not even spiritual that much. I'm pretty much straight up atheist.
Apparently somebody asked this channel. The answer is we do not have super chats yet because we do not have enough subscribers yet.
Oh, yeah. How many subscribers do you have to get super chat?
I know it's 100 to get Facebook stars. I really don't know. I'd have to check to see what
We
it
all
is
have
for
to start promoting
YouTube.
Ken's channel more and helping him out. I need my channel to be monetized. I'm trying to get dentures. I need it. I need to make money off of it. Hey, where's Benny Loco tonight?
Benny Loco's coming in just now. Funny
I
you should
love her.
ask.
There she is. That's so funny. I just randomly
Yeah,
asked.
I know. I was
no
sitting there
idea.
just-
I had no idea you were coming on. That's so
Neither
funny.
did I.
I adore you, Benny Loco.
Oh, what thank you, Kelly. I adore you back.
He's a
So
hothead.
yeah, I was like, I gotta go up there because Ken said, and and so did yourself. And I was walking out of the room to go prepare some food. But you both said 420.
So funny. I thought I had the time all wrong. I was coloring my hair, and then I was like, "Oh shit, it started already." So,
hey, everybody down the chat land.
Hey, Benny Loco, welcome to the show. I'm laying in bed. I don't even give a fuck tonight. Last time I was on Ken's show, I put makeup on. I was all paranoid. Tonight I was like,
yeah. It's good to see you, Benny Loco. Got your smiling face back.
Benny Loco cracks me up. Whenever she's in Hal's chat, he's always like, "Calm down, Benny Loco. Calm down."
Hal is my human version of Valium.
Isn't he awesome? He really is. He is totally he calmed me down so much when it comes to politics. He made me take it so much less serious and not to overreact.
Listen, I have to tell you all why you're here, because there's so many sparklers over here.
Yeah, this is a Sparkler spinoff show.
When Hal reads, I like the sound of that. There were a couple of good spinoffs that I could get behind, Mork and Mindy. Anyway, Hal, what was I saying?
I don't know. Introduce yourself, Benny Loco. People might not know you here. They might not.
Okay, hi, I'm Benny Loco. Okay, what was I saying about Hal?
When Hal reads, you said.
He's my Valium. He's my human Valium. Sorry?
You said you liked it when he reads?
Yeah, when he reads, because he reads, I know that he reads, if he wasn't reading out of his mouth, articulating the words, he would be reading a lot faster.
Yeah.
And he reads so fast out loud as it is. And my dad used to read the same exact way. He was a speed reader. He could knock a novel out in a couple hours, no problem, And so when I listen to Hal, I get that
memory.
Of my dad trying to read something to you and just reading it so fast that you're like, ah!
We were just talking about
listening to it.
We were just talking about how his brain just amazes me.
He's one high-tuned son of a bitch, just like Christine.
He's amazing.
He runs on what do you call that? Yeah, human energy.
I've never encountered someone that knows so much about so many different things,
Yeah, well, the more you read, the more you investigate, the more you know. And Hal is a natural born detective.
We were saying that, not drinking or ever doing drugs probably really helped too, because look at Benny Loco and I are both smoking.
He's smoking.
Oh my gosh. We just watched the video about these kids that parents have indoctrinated them into QAnon. You missed it.
Yeah, I've been sitting here.
Did you see that video?
Doing my duty in silence. Sometimes that's the best way to do it. And then I saw, I heard you do the whole 420 thing, and I was like, that's it. I'm going on. I'm going. They said 420. I'm going. That means I'm invited. So I'm coming up. I want to let you know I got the ladies show.
I'm coming up. I got the world. Yeah. Ken's like, what am I gotten myself into here?
No, I'm just ready for a quick break, and I'm going to let you ladies take over this show for a minute or two, okay?
Fantastic.
All right. What are we going to talk about?
We got a chat, question in the chat. It's funny because I was going to do a Q&A on my channel tonight.
Yeah, I'm starting a channel, Benny Loco.
I know. I've been here. I've been listening. Before you were here, I was here.
I need to just do it. I mean, I think I have to I'm overthinking it too much. I just need to start doing it. I don't have a mic. I don't have fancy lighting.
Lurker. I don't have any professional lighting. Look at nothing.
Yeah.
I sit in my garage.
I know.
I'm on my tablet. Hello.
Somebody told me with my podcast I should get in the closet and do it. Can't do that with a YouTube show though.
Yeah, the word is the word. It doesn't matter what the system looks like that it's coming out of, as long as it's the word.
Yeah, Corey says, can we do the Q&A tonight? Yeah, go for it. Ask us whatever. I don't even know.
Well, I was going to do that on my channel, Corey.
Oh. Who painted that behind you, Penny Loco? Benny Loco.
Painted. I have
asking you.
I have a
Ooh.
It's like a tapestry thing. The camera right.
Nice.
Yeah.
I collect toys. So
Do you? I collect hats.
I collect I collect pops. These things, Funko Pops.
Oh,
This
yeah,
one
yeah,
is,
yeah.
that one was Kelly Kapowski from Saved by the Bell.
Oh, crap. Hold, I'm going to mute.
I collect Buffy the Vampire Slayer stuff.
Got something in the microwave?
I wish we could screen share, but we can't.
Okay.
I think in honor of January 6th, we need to play this video.
Okay. Do you know? Oh, you don't. We can't screen share. Ken's got to be here to screen share.
I know. I'm going to have to send him a link.
Listen, I'm going to be right back. I got to let my dog out.
All right.
Or let him in. I got to let him in.
I'm going to make Ken share this when he comes back. Sorry. Oh my God, Kelly was my fave. Ken stream. I don't know. He said he was going to take a break. I don't know what I'm doing. So, Wes, I am from, I grew up in Santa Barbara, kind of, and Texas. Live in Palm Springs now. Cleta says, Kelly, what cult is your next podcast? I'm not going to do any more podcasts. I'm going to do a YouTube channel. And I'm going to do a combination of cults, and I'll probably start with all the Scientology news that's going on because there's a lot going on right now. And I'm also just going to follow what happens with the crazy Freedom Caucus in Congress. Just follow what they're doing. I really don't know what I'm going to do, actually. I'm just going to play it by ear. Any suggestions are welcome. I hope that. Oh, how did you meet Ken and Andrea? Well, it's really funny. I was in the House Sparks chat, and I was pretending to troll. I was saying like Trump 2024 and just stupid shit like that. And Andrea called me out. And so Andrea and I started talking, and we found out that our parents went to high school together in Homestead, Florida. It was so bizarre. So bizarre. Such a small world. Greetings, Mark. Ken had to take a break. He'll be right back. So I don't know. I wish I could screen share because I want to play this video so bad. That would be great. Hold on, I'm getting a message from someone. Xenu. Xenu. Can you imagine being in Scientology and like doing all those courses, and then you spent like $500,000 and you get to find out that whole Xenu story? That's freaking insane. Can I play it on my phone and hold it up to the camera? Yeah, but that would be kind of weird. I don't know. Let me see. I've heard people get to that level in Scientology and they end up committing suicide because they've realized they've wasted their whole life. I can't believe Ken left me here by myself. I'm not prepared.
It is Thursday.
No, that's not going to work. I'm just going to have Ken do it. Have you guys seen this
January 6th.
abhorrent thing? Oh, so hilarious.
1 year. 1 year.
Drum and bugle. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Is anyone else familiar with the cult Nexium? That's, I find, the most interesting one. And that cult leader went to prison for 120 years. Pretty fucked up. Isn't it interesting how so many celebrities get involved in cults? I find that really interesting. It must be something like being an actor, an artist, that draws you to that kind of thing. Ken, come back. Oh, I know, right, Karen? I just read this excellent book. It's called Scarred by Sarah Edmondson. It's all about Nexium, and yeah, the branding was just so horrible. Cletus, it's Nexium NXIVM. It was a small cult that just went down. It's very interesting. Okay, Ken, I just sent you a link to a video that we have to play in honor of January 6th.
Okay.
It's not that long.
Okay.
And I don't know where Benny Loco went. You guys abandoned me.
Benny Loco had to do something, and I had to answer a phone call for work. So.
Well, I held down the fort.
Thank you.
I think so.
Yay! Good for holder downer. You did it. No
We're gonna play a really cool video here.
Okay.
In honor of January 6th.
Hang on.
Benny Loco, where do you
Did you
live?
send it the same way through the Twitter message?
Yeah, let me make sure I sent it.
SoCal, baby.
Yeah. Oh, wait, let me send it again. I didn't send it, Ken. Okay, now.
I just got it. Abhorrent?
Yes.
Okay, it just got here. So hang on. Being a pain. I'll take myself off screen while I work it out.
Oh, shit. You don't work stuff like that out anymore. It's just a bunch of push buttons.
I know, I wish we could screen share when you went away, Ken. Ken was going number 2. Rude. Where do you live, Benny Loco? Or is it a secret?
Southern California.
Oh, me too.
Oh.
I live in Palm Springs.
Shut the front door.
Where the fuck do you live?
We're neighbors.
We are? Where
Yeah,
do you live?
I'm up the hill here.
You'll have to tell me later.
Yeah, I'm up
I
the
live
hill
in
here.
Desert. I actually live in Desert Hot Springs.
Yeah, I'm up the hill from Desert Hot Springs.
Nice. We got to get together, girl. Did you hear that, Ken? Benny Loco and I are neighbors.
We're neighbors. We're neighbors. I probably passed by your house 1,000,000 times.
Kelly, when will you start live streaming? I don't know, when I get my shit together. We'll see.
I was wondering how you were sitting outside because it's cold out. And I thought she must be in Florida.
Oh, yeah. No. Desert Hot Springs. I live on
But
Palm
you're
Drive.
down the hill, and down the hill is warmer than up here where I am.
Nice.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have to get together.
We're at 49 degrees here. What's your temp down there?
What do you live, like, near the desert or something?
Like, I could be to your house in like a half an hour.
That's so funny. I have no idea. I can't find the temperature. It's probably like 68 or so. Oh, this is great. This is going to be some light comedy.
It is Thursday, January 6th.
Thank you, Brenda.
1 year, if you can believe it.
1 year.
1 year.
The 1 year anniversary of a violent assault on the center of America's democracy.
This is a song from the play Rent.
525,600 minutes 365 days since feces were smeared. 12,000 self-incriminating Instagram pictures. One Viking shaman doing 3.5 years. Infectors, this guy tried to steal a lectern. Stupid facts, huge douchebags, and this ass like 727 insurrectionists arrested. Who else should be jailed for this unsuccessful coup? How about this? Love is a traitorous scar. That's his terrible sound. Like Mussolini, but dumb. 7,328 camo-based outfits, 12,116 Mason-induced keys, 147 treasonous dimwits, one of whom really cannot pull off a beard. Is that a dead scar? Rudy looks drunk. I can't look one. It's erection.
Freaking great. Cult of Personality says we shouldn't joke about this. I disagree. You can laugh at anything. It's healthy to laugh. I just thought that was so brilliant.
It was pretty funny.
It's great.
They're fucking with you again, Ken. They're
You're having issues.
They're slamming down your stream for son of a bitch. Hey,
I'm
Ken.
giving Ken all kinds of copyright strikes tonight. I think we're having issues with Benny Loco. Is it just me?
I think it's that power outage out there in the California area or something.
Yeah. We're freezing to death.
Copyright strikes. It's not strikes. It's not striking things behind the scenes. Just deliberately trying to be assholes. That's all with us. You know, revenge is best served cold.
Karen, why do we need to do a welfare check on Ken? He's right there. I know. No more videos. I know. I'm getting Ken in trouble.
Just
with my
moderator messages, people sending me messages telling me I'm down on YouTube because of what we've been playing.
It's my fault. I'm sorry, Ken. No more videos.
Well, that's just because that's Colbert, so.
It's so lame. Like, why can't we play little thing? Isn't that called fair use?
Apparently not to them.
I mean, Hal plays shit all the time.
So just go to Stephen Colbert and look up the video, of the funny stuff that they played the other night.
You're gonna lose your channel. Okay. No, he'll be fine. Why do people keep saying, is Ken coming back? He's right there. Are they watching on a different platform?
Well, apparently YouTube went down.
No.
No.
It's gotta catch up.
Let me see if it's up on YouTube.
Yeah, we're still live here.
Fine on YouTube. YouTube's fine.
Ken.
All right, kids. I'm gonna take off. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Kelly. Bye. Hi, Benny Loco. Benny Loco, your internet connection is suffering tonight.
I'm sorry. Technical difficulties. Please stand by. I think this calls for a dab. This is too much hot sauce for my head. Oh my God. It's unfortunate that there's so many silly, broken people out there who just can't get over themselves.
Thanks, Mark P. Glad that YouTube is back.
That's a nice way of putting it. That our Mark P? It's not. That's not how he does his name. Not over by us anyway. So somebody ought to check into that Mark P. I don't have my chat up. We trying to
make sure that the internet is not on my end, and it doesn't seem to be. So internet seems to be okay so far. Do a duet for the new year?
Ask the chat. I'm trying to. Sorry?
Nick Rich 56 wants us to do a duet for the new year. How about you sing, Benny, and I'll just pantomime along.
You know, I get paid really, really well to sing.
It's a secret.
Do you like to talk about comments, Benny Loco? Do you like to study the stars in the comments as much as you like the aliens?
Only my sector. I'm only interested in my section of the neighborhood. The rest of the universes and solar system can all. I'm happy with it.
Because we were talking about this earlier.
Yeah, I know. I was here.
A bright green comment.
I know. I'm excited.
And really, you know, without belaboring the whole article, let's just see when it's coming.
Okay. It's coming. I hope I get to see it.
So let's see, when is it coming? It's coming to its closest proximity on January 12th. And then beginning about 3 weeks later, beginning on February 1st, the comet's slated to draw nearest to Earth. So closest proximity to the sun on January 12th. 3 weeks later, it comes closest to the Earth on February 1st. So you might be able to see it with the naked eye, which is good. I don't have a telescope.
I never have my eyes naked. They always come in glasses on. Naked eyes, naked eyes.
And it says that you can begin to spot it in the morning sky. So people in the northern hemisphere can see it in the morning sky this month. And the southern hemisphere can see it starting in early February. So that's another interesting article on NPR. Check that out.
I will check the NPR ad out. Although I've left all news sources. Just all of them. All of them. All of them. All of them.
Nick Rich really wants you to sing something. I don't know. Nick Rich, you may have to just go to her channel later and she'll be singing along.
Jeez. Yikes.
So Benny's not super fond of SpaceX, so hopefully she'll forgive me for talking about SpaceX while she's on screen, because NASA's going to provide coverage of the SpaceX crew capsule coming back.
Oh, I thought you said safe sex. Why is he concerned? I'm going to be worried.
God, I love you, Benny Loco. You're so funny.
Shit, Ken. I'm sorry, honey.
So NASA's going to provide coverage of the SpaceX Cargo Dragon coming back. It starts at 4:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 3:45 p.m. tomorrow for you Central Time Zone people. We never seem to have anybody in the Mountain Time Zone, but 2:45 for you and 1:45 p.m. for those of you in the Pacific Time Zone like Benny Loco. So, yeah. And at 5 p.m. Eastern or 2 p.m. Pacific, it will undock. Expect it to go earlier than that because almost always it goes a little bit earlier than that. And then they go into all the details. So for more on that, just go to nasa.gov. Check that out. That's one of the things that I wanted to talk about. The others are it was supposed to happen tonight. It's now going to happen tomorrow. If you don't want to support SpaceX, you can support their competitor if you have to get internet access. And so I'll bring up this story.
If anybody who is interested in who the troll in the chat is tonight, it's Stuttering John. Just so you know. And it's unfortunate that he's come to this, but this is what he does. This is what he does for kicks now. And fun.
So
maybe the comet will pick John up, shake his brain back to normal. I bet his mama's real proud of him now. Maybe I should call her and let her know what he's up to. Hey, Ma! Guess what Johnny's doing?
So tomorrow night at 11:50, 10 minutes before midnight, we got this OneWeb launch going on here at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, and this is what it's going to do. It's going to launch 40 satellites, and that will be the competitor to SpaceX. And so,
now, what is the function of all these satellites?
well, these are internet satellites, so they provide internet connectivity for people that can't get it through some other means or who don't want to pay the local provider.
Is this part of the infrastructure bill? Or is this
well, I don't know, because this is really just the competitor to SpaceX launching their satellites. Originally, they were going to do it on Russian rockets, but they can't do that because, they can't get on a Russian rocket given the current situation with the Russia and Ukraine. So what's going to happen is they're actually going to have to use SpaceX to launch their stuff. So, that's what's going on. And so this is happening tomorrow night. The article is just too small to read, but essentially tomorrow night at 11:50 Eastern or 8:50 p.m. Pacific. If you're going to watch on the internet, you can watch them launch these, and it's going to be a landing. So if you're local to Florida, you could watch it. And people that are here that are lucky enough to be in Cape Canaveral can see it, and anybody else should probably be south of Cape Canaveral because it's taking off to the south. And so it will be taking off to the south and coming back.
I used to be able to watch all the stuff getting shot off in Florida.
Well, you do get, don't you get some of the rocket launches there in California? But I don't know if you can see Vandenberg from where you are.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet since I've been here. I've seen a couple of really cool things in the sky that I'm more questionable about. Yeah, it just, didn't look like anything that I'd seen before. Like a satellite or a rocket or a star, a comet, a meteor, all of the above.
Okay, so the final story that I have is the one that's taking place in British places. The first orbital space launch from British soil will take off on Monday. And so what that article is about is the modified Boeing 747 airplane known as Cosmic Girl will take off from Spaceport Cornwall in England. It reaches 35,000 feet in the air. The converted aircraft will deploy a rocket called Launcher 1 into space. Launcher 1 rocket will deliver several payloads into orbit, including Wales' first satellite and first ever satellite launched by Oman to observe Earth. In addition to being the first orbital launch ever from the United Kingdom, it's also the first commercial launch from Western Europe. And Melissa Thorpe, head of Spaceport Cornwall, said in an October 15th press release, quote, "We cannot wait to see the rocket take to the sky soon, carrying Earth-benefiting satellite technology into low Earth orbit." So it's going to launch things into low Earth orbit. The converted aircraft will be operated by Virgin Orbit. It was scheduled to take off last month before it failed to meet all of its license terms. And while the historic Start Me Up mission, named after a Rolling Stones song, is scheduled to take off on Monday, there are several backup dates this month just in case. So the article goes on to explain that there are other parts of Europe trying to get into spaceport action. Scotland, Scandinavia, and Germany. And the spokesperson, Linda Taylor, who leads Cornwall Council, said that it's inspiring youth to become the next generations of scientists and innovators. So it talks about the details of the live stream on the article. And there have been other launches of this type in the United States. So, you know, this is not the only time that a launch has taken place or will take place using this type of aircraft, but it's just another way to get things into space and not have to rely on the big guys to put things into orbit that are needed up there or are desired for research. So I'm doing this for about 3 hours.
You know, I like traveling in space. Don't tell anybody.
Not sure why we had an echo there.
Space is really fun. Oh, I don't know.
You know, the stream is doing funny things tonight. Maybe it's just telling us it's time to end the show after 3 hours. I did a marathon last week for 6.
I know you did. I was here.
I just think that I should probably end it at a earlier time this week instead of being up so late. So I thank you for being on.
Discover life on planets within the next 10 years. Ken?
It's a possibility. At least we're getting the technology to get there to find out. So we might find out. I mean, we have found microbial life or whatever on Mars. So water, you know, and they kept hoping they would find water there, a source of water. So, you know, it is a start.
We're spreading our wings, Mother Earth.
It's silly in a way to think that we're the only ones out here, you know.
Yeah, we're definitely not the only ones out here. That's just the cold hard fact that some people don't want to deal with, and that's okay. But I'm okay with it. I'm okay with not being, you know, the greatest thing in the universe. It's okay. I'm all right with that. You know, we all should be. Maybe we'd be a better planet if we could get around our own selves like that. You know, we're not the be all and end all. There's more. We're not it. I think we're the bottom of the food chain, actually, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, some people are.
God's honest truth.
Seen some evidence of that tonight with some of the clips we showed.
Dude, listen, we got to step up and be a lot louder. I'm not kidding, because we have to be just as loud as them, and then that much louder. We have to be on 11 until next year, which is 24. Okay? It's not that far away.
I know.
We have to be so fucking loud that we're deafening. You understand? And I'm serious as a fucking heart attack. Enough. Enough. It's enough. They've done enough. It's enough. They're wrong. They need to be done, taken care of. Period. I'm hoping to see some action. Like real soon. From what I'm, hearing from sources, something should start popping and locking soon. And on that note, I'm going to pop off here and do about 30 more dads. How do you like me now?
I like you, Benny Loco. You're always fun.
I love you.
And you always tell it straight, too.
Yeah, well, listen, I got nothing to fucking hide. Nothing. Not a goddamn thing. Okay? So, why lie? Lies are toxic. Lies are poison. Lies are for failures. I'm not a failure, nor am I a liar. Period. Love you guys.
Bye, Benny Loco. Peace. And with that, we're over 3 hours tonight, and the sleep is getting in my eyes. I think we've done enough for the night, so we'll see you around next week on Freedom, Speech, and You. Remember to like and subscribe and share the stream, okay? We'll see you next week. Bye now.